team, gentlemen. Hell yeah. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals. That's football, guys. That's all it is. Now, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah. The money,
What's up, everybody? Welcome in. This is Any Given Wager across the Betting News Network. We thank you for joining us. As you know, we talked about it on the last show. We do not have our guy, Daniel Collins, Sweatpants Jesus, SPJ, with us. He is in transit to Chicago for the big BNN meetup taking place this week that our guy right here, Danny Burke, is going to be part of. And if you are in the Chicago area, by all means, find the crew. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it, but a lot of them are going to be out there. It's going to be a lot of brewskis, going to be a lot of betting, going to be some watch parties. Going to be a great time this weekend. And I guess, Danny, I'll be living vicariously through the both of you.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. We'll make sure to get you involved somehow. But absolutely looking forward to it out here in my neck of the woods in the Windy City. So pumped to see all the betting news guys and all the fans stop in. It's going to be a great weekend. Obviously, we got plenty of college football on Saturday, huge slate of football on Sunday that we're always looking forward to in the NFL. And we kick it off tonight with Thursday night football, my man. And obviously October baseball. I mean, I'm still riding the high from being at the Cubs game last night. It was one of the top experiences of my life. It was always a bucket list to go to a Cubs playoff game. I finally went to one. I drove all the way from Nebraska to Chicago for Game 7 just to be in Wrigleyville. I always promised I'd do that. The next one was to actually get to a game, and the atmosphere was unlike any other. Amazing they got the win. Not sure they're going to be as fortunate tonight, but nevertheless, still got plenty of action going on all around the diamond, the gridiron. Pumped to talk about it with you, my friend.
Well, good luck to you, man. I know a lot of people are on Milwaukee today, but, they're just leaning into the quote-unquote better team. We'll see what happens. Baseball's funny. I mean, look, my Red Sox went down to the Yankees. The Yankees then proceeded to get demolished by the Blue Jays, and all the while, I felt that both the teams that got knocked out along the way were better than the Blue Jays. So funny things can happen here in the month of October, and like you said, hopefully your Cubs run is not over just yet. Our focus here, of course, is football. It's a Thursday. I know typically we come at you a little earlier in the day, so appreciate everybody's flexibility in the chat and across the streams, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, wherever you are finding us. We have got you for basically an hour, and then Danny and the Betspresso crew are going to continue on looking at just a range of bets across the night, whether that is baseball tonight, NFL tonight, college football tonight, looking ahead to what may be the final game of the WNBA season tomorrow. So there's a lot in store to come at you and a lot of bets that are going to be given. We are going to give you some, two of us, and we'll also give you what SPJ has left us in his absence as well. I do have to, though, before we get to the Eagles and the Giants and NFC East divisional clash, just look back to our last show on Monday, Danny, because it was just another dumpster fire of picks that we gave out. We are down basically 10 units over the last two shows alone. We gave out 5 picks. We go 1-4 over, again, this was just Monday Night Football. I had Chiefs -3.5, should have cruised to it, except they decided to piss it away late against the Jaguars, which just keeps happening to me. Happened to the Chiefs game, lose outright. Happened to the Cardinals, should have been an easy cover, lose outright. I had it would have been, I mean, it was doubly dead. It would have been, at least entertaining going into Monday if the Bills had done their job against the Patriots. Now, as a Pats fan, I'm not complaining, but I had that Lions, Bills, Chiefs money line parlay that was right around +30 that we had given out on the previous Sunday show. So, there's a lot of just weird stuff happening. You gave out 2 plays, you split, you got the over easily on Patrick Mahomes rushing yards, but a field goal short on Little delivering on a couple of those. And then SPJ just rough. He goes 0 for 2, wasn't even close, didn't even sniff it on the rush receiving combos for Worthy and ETN. And so this needs to be a bounce back for us. We need it as a show, man.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it. We got another day of football to work with. Feel pretty confident in terms of some of the angles that I'm looking at tonight. And I know we're on the same boat for at least one of the players. I'm sure a lot of people will be scouting this player out. But yeah, I mean, look, it's always difficult when you're trying to, find the biggest advantage in a standalone game. So that's why you always got to be a little bit careful there and obviously try to get in as soon as you can. And, we try to get a lot of that out with our articles, along with a lot of the great help we have at Betting News to kind of get some of those earlier prop lines. But hey, it's a grind. It's going to be tough. And at the very least, hopefully everybody can, either back it or fade it, whatever's going to be profitable for you, or getting valuable insights, whatever we could provide. That's what we're looking to do. And no, I'm excited for tonight's game. I'm feeling good about tonight, and I'm feeling great about this weekend. So
last week there was some real just carnage across survivor pools. I don't know if you're still live with anything. I hope you are. I've got one of my 3 left.
Yeah,
you're dead.
Same.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, I'm the same as you. 1 of 3 left. I got screwed on the Rams and the Cardinals like everybody else.
Yeah. So just and I had lost 2 of my 3 the week prior, but the only thing that kind of made me feel better about that is that in week 5, if I had been live going in with all 3, I absolutely would have had the Rams and the Cardinals as my other 2. So I'd be 1 out of 3 sitting right here regardless right now. But, funny week, obviously, because underdogs in general. Now, we had been talking going into that week about how, for the most part, 6+ point favorites in the NFL this season hadn't always covered, but straight up almost never lost. I mean, the favorites were doing what favorites are supposed to do. Last week, we see dogs go 9-5 against the spread, but not just that. 9 outright wins. All 9 covered, 1 as well. So it was insane. And I bring that up in part to let you know about the chaos, as we had wins from who was it here? Niners, Cowboys, Panthers, Broncos, Buccaneers, Titans, Commanders, Patriots, Jaguars. Most outright wins by dogs in a single week since 2022. But now we begin this week 6 with another big favorite. Philadelphia, there were some 6.5s, those are gone. 7.5 point favorites at the Meadowlands against the Giants. These 2 teams obviously not remotely created equally. You got Philadelphia at 4-1, 2-0 on the road. The Giants 1-4, 1-1 when playing at home. A total in this one that has dropped down from 43.5 to universally 40.5, as you see on your screen right now. Philadelphia 3-2 against the spread, 3-2 to the under. New York 2-3 against the spread, 4-1 to the under. All of that contributes, both these being under teams so far this year, to why that total has dropped. But it's also lack of star power for New York. As we know, there's no Malik Neighbors. Hell, even Darius Slayton has been ruled out at this point in time. And then on the other side for Philadelphia, we don't know about Jalen Carter. We can get to that. But as far as your skill position players, everybody is available, but we've seen inconsistency. Saquon Barkley, who we'll talk about, has not been himself so far this year. He's only averaging just north of 50 rushing yards per game. And A.J. Brown, we just keep talking about it. War and Peace on the sidelines, all of that. So I'm just going to start this thing, Danny, with my first official play, and that is Philadelphia to do what it is supposed to do, be the better team against a bad, undermanned Giants team on the other side that is severely, just woeful on the defensive end. Philadelphia's offense should be able to do whatever it wants if it takes this game seriously. And it being a divisional game and coming off a loss, I am hoping Philadelphia will do just that. I'm laying the 7 here at -120.
Yeah, look, heading into this game, I mean, it certainly seems like a great bounce back opportunity for Philadelphia, right? The thing that's always a little scary is certainly the shorter week, going on the road, divisional matchup, and laying around or over the key number of 7. So that's what's going to keep me off of this spot, Adam. And I find a lot more traction in the prop market, as I often do. But I certainly see your path here. And now that it's dropped to 7, and I see the cheapest even at minus $1.15 if you want to lay that 7, but most commonly, like you alluded to, at about minus 120, I would definitely be more tempted with Philadelphia. And it's not even necessarily because of the bounce back effort, but I do think that that plays a little bit into consideration here. And then with the frustrations that this Eagles team's had, and, we heard them talking about the closed door meetings, all this and that, they're freaking out for still being one of the best teams in the NFL, which, our teams, we'd be, just completely content if we were where they were. Yet that's what separates the champions, I guess, from the middle or below of the pack, is that these guys are ticked off despite only having one loss under their belt. But it hasn't been pretty wins. So you could understand the frustration, especially from their star receiver and A.J. Brown. And I know we'll dive into that a bit later. But yeah, I think this Giants team, you certainly saw the spark that they inherited from Jackson Dart coming in as the starter. And again, going back to that game, that's why I like the Giants in that game. It was a tough scheduling spot for the Chargers, and you were going to get the guys to rally behind Jackson Dart and get a boost from that, right? And you have limited film on him if you're the Chargers. The following week, all right, now everything kind of settles. You fall back down to reality a bit, and you're going up against the Saints team that obviously nowhere near the top of the list, but they've still been fairly competitive. I mean, they certainly gave the Bills a run for their money. They're not just kneeling down. I mean, this team's been scrappy. So yeah, I think you saw more of the true colors of the Giants last week. And as much as people love what Scadbo's been doing and what he can do, he's very inefficient on the ground. The reason why he's been tallying up so many yards is because they gave him 25 carries against the Chargers and 16 the following game, but he's averaging under 4 yards per carry. So you can't just completely run this offense through him. Malik Neighbors, as you mentioned, he's gone. We all know that. And then Slayton's not going to be available in this spot either. It's just really difficult for them to go up against what's still a pretty damn good Eagles defense. I know metrically they're not as solid, but they have the third best red zone defense. 43% is what their opponents are converting a touchdown once entering the red zone. The Giants have the worst red zone offense in the National Football League. You flip it around, the Eagles have the best red zone offense. Giants not too bad defensively. They're ninth, but again, that's a huge advantage for this Eagles defense, which should help them cover the spread. So all of that, again, I'm not backing it, but I would strongly lean still to the side that you're on now that you are right on that 7.
B. Don in the chat. It's a good day to have a good day. Sure is, sir. Thank you. Slips Never Green asking about AJ over on receiving yards. We'll get there in our stat standoff when we talk about the wide receivers. Dotson, 9.5 receiving yards. Book of Chew throwing out there. Oh, damn, it's Austin's just all about the Eagles. Me too, man. So let's hope we can cash that ticket together. Obviously, again, on the -7 here for the show. Jalen Hurts, just to give you some trends, I like to throw these things out, as we know. 3-11-1 against the spread as a 7+ point favorite. If you are looking for a reason to maybe not lay the points, as I am advocating here, Hurts is 10-15 ATS as a road favorite, has lost the last 7 games against the spread, Danny, as a favorite of at least 7 points. So I guess just to bring that up before we start to get into the players here, does that scare you off? Do you worry about Philadelphia's on-field leadership in Jalen Hurts, or is that one of those kind of fluky numbers that dates back multiple seasons and just in this matchup doesn't mean anything?
Yeah, I think there's some concern to be had there for sure. And I'm not a trends guy by any stretch of the imagination, but when it's so lopsided to one side, you have to at least recognize. And I think that's just more of an indictment of the player that Hurts is and the offense that they run in Philadelphia, right? I mean, it's not going to be anything prolific or electric throughout the air and scoring points in bunches. It's going to be winding you down and grinding it out on the ground, whether it's with Hurts, whether it's with Barkley, and then the occasional deep ball. So that's why you don't see him winning by large margins. I mean, look, they beat the Cowboys by 4. They beat the Chiefs by 3. The Rams, that was their biggest win, by 7. The Bucs, they escaped with a 6-point victory, though it probably should have been better, but they still let up. And then you lose against the Broncos. So again, that also kind of ties into me being a tad bit timid, not even because of the trends, but that's just another added layer of laying a bigger number on the short week against a division team, to where, yes, on paper, they should be able to handle that business. And I don't think the Giants are a good team. I'm certainly rooting for them to lose as someone with a ticket of under 5.5 wins. But yeah, I mean, it does need to be explained that Hurts is just kind of almost like how the Chiefs are with Mahomes, although the Chiefs shouldn't be in that discussion, but they find ways to win. It's not pretty, and they're really struggling to cover those larger numbers. So Yeah, it's just something to keep in the back of your mind, I guess. But also, you got to take every game as its own, and context certainly matters. So this could be a spot where they overcome that.
We appreciate everyone joining us. Looks like about 4,000 across the stream right now. Let's continue to lift those numbers with Betspresso on the way coming up in about 45 minutes. Danny and the crew will be part of that again, talking through some NFL among other things. But it's nice to get week 6 started with some Thursday night football here tonight. Whether it'll be a good game or not, I don't know. Again, I'm invested in it not being, but the way things have been trending so far here recently in the NFL, you would think that the Giants are live to keep this thing close, maybe even win it outright. But yeah, let's explore here our stat standoff and get into the quarterback position. Also, do want to mention, you might be thinking, like Danny brought up that Chargers and Giants game. We were on opposite sides of that. You could, if you're a regular viewer of this show, say, where are the punishments at, guys? Don't you guys both owe us? Listen, Danny needs to sniff some smelling salts, and right. I guess need to put on the clown hat and nose again. We're not going to do those things without SPJ. We're going to do those as a trifecta, as a full unit. Wouldn't want him to miss out on that party. So this is a punishment-free show. But as Danny pulled up the graphic, we'll do it again, tell you about these quarterbacks here. Jalen Hurts, man, that's a low passing number. 177.5 at minus 114, a pick 'em aside. 196.5 for Jackson Dart, who, if the game goes as I think it will, figures to be throwing a lot. Passing attempts 26.5 versus 31.5 respectively. Rushing yards, two guys that like to be mobile and may have to be, quite frankly. 40.5 versus 37.5. The anytime the touchdown passes, pardon me. This is interesting. So Jalen Hurts is at right around plus 160 on over 1.5. That makes sense. Very rarely do you see a guy with a 0.5 number, and that is what Jackson Dart has, which is plus money to the under, plus 144, minus 186, as you see on the screen, to the over. That is just a wild designation. To bring up a couple of things, though, Hurts, again, going up against a poor secondary, should not really have much of an issue. As far as the Eagles, this is where handicapping, you might want to wait a little bit, because it's a ferocious pass rush, upwards of 100 pressures of the quarterback already so far through 5 games this year. Jackson Dart, we've talked about that O-line is not well protected. However, we don't know about Jalen Carter and whether he is going to be available in this game. That could be a game time decision. And if he is, forget it. Dart's on his ass most of this game. If he's not, I'm a little bit concerned about, at least his ability to get free, and maybe that's a lean to the over on rushing yards, that type of thing. But we'll talk more about that when we get into some maybe of these rushing numbers here. How do you see some of these, again, in the year of our Lord 2025, Danny, very low expectations going into this game here for both Hurts and Dart?
Yeah, I mean, look, like you said, as seldom are you seeing a quarterback with a passing touchdowns prop of 0.5, and rightfully so. It's listed as a chalky side to the over, about minus 180 or higher than that. Based on the price, I wouldn't take it. But yeah, I mean, look, if they're going to score, I would have more confidence in it coming from Dart's arm than something on the ground effort, where Philadelphia can be incredibly stout with their front seven. But as you mentioned, again, Jalen Carter, a huge part of that handicap, and then some. When you look at Hurts, it's so tempting with them more often than not to tackle his passing yards, because they're always so low. But again, we know why it's so low. And I would want to almost back that over with the kind of correlation of A.J. Brown presumably seeing more action of what we've heard and what they've been trying to get going. But at the same time, this is kind of the perfect recipe, Adam, for them to just utilize Hurts, utilize Saquon Barkley, because the Giants' run defense has been awful this season. They're 30th in rush EPA per play allowed, 28th in rush success rate allowed. They're giving up 5.3 yards per carry, which is 29th in the National Football League. And in general, they're giving up 5.7 yards per play. So while I do think A.J. Brown gets utilized a bit more, I think they are going to emphasize the ground attack overall still, especially if they fall in line with your thinking of covering the spread. You're running down the clock, all that, and everything surrounding it. So I wouldn't want to end up taking anything with the over with Hurts. There was something that I would do with Dart. I would actually bet him to throw a pick tonight. Now, I know that wasn't on the graphic, but I'd be a little bit tempted there because, again, I do lean with you thinking the Eagles are going to bully them here. They're going to be winning. Giants are trailing. Dart, being put in a bit more uncomfortable situation. First time seeing the stout Philadelphia defense through 2 picks last week in a game where I think more resides to what this Giants team is. I think he's going to have to let it loose and make a bit more uncomfortable decisions than we saw against the Chargers, where they just kept handing it off to Scatterbo. But I don't think you're going to be able to do that all 4 quarters, thus putting him in some tricky situations. So if there's anything with the quarterbacks, that's where I would probably go at him.
Danny, if you could do me a favor, bring that graphic back up one more time, please. Just want to highlight a couple of things. Thank you. So, again, 177.5 passing yards for Jalen Hurts. He has cleared that number only twice this year, and the times that he has missed it, he's not been close. 152 against the Cowboys, 101 against the Chiefs in a close game, 130 a couple of weeks back against the Buccaneers. The rushing yards that you see at 40.5, he has gone over that number 3 times. Couple of times very comfortably. There's a 9 for 15 in there with some kneels, and a 2 for 3 most recently against the Broncos in a strange game that Philadelphia should have won. As for Jackson Dart, you have to consider as well that he is now, only started 2 games, obviously. So 111 and 202. So even the time that he did clear that 196.5, it was barely. But what really jumps out is the 54 and 55 rushing attempts and 17 total carries, 37.5. I have not, as of yet, made Jackson Dart's rushing yards a show official play, and I don't need to, because our guy SPJ is doing it. He locked it in at over 34.5 at minus 125. So has gone up just a little bit in some places, but again, 10 for 54, close game, 3-point win over the Chargers, as we know. Had to improvise quite a bit after Neighbors went down, change up the offense in the second half of that game. 7 for 55 against the Saints in a 12-point loss. So a game that, honestly, I was on the Giants. I thought the Giants were going to win that game as dogs outright, let alone lose by 12 against that miserable Saints team. But it's a reminder that, hey, this Giants team ain't any good either. So I would make it a group play if not for the fact that SBJ already claimed it, and I'll just let him have it. But I like it. I like the over on Jackson Dart in that rushing yards category. How do you feel about just what he's going to need to do to even attempt to keep this game close?
Yeah, I mean, it's evident that's the type of quarterback he's going to have to be, at least early on, to create offensive momentum. It's a tough offense right now surrounding him. I mean, you already lost Neighbors. Obviously, the absence of Slayton, having a really poor offensive line, is not gonna help him in the passing efforts throughout the course of his rookie season. So he's going to have to get creative. But in terms of a bet tonight, yeah, I mean, where SPJ got it, outstanding number. And again, this is why we harp on shopping these numbers early and shopping around in general. Because now if it's over that 40.5 mark, even higher than that, you've completely missed the boat on it. And I think it's set accordingly. I have him right over 40 yards. So anything around there, I don't necessarily see his value. And look, he could get 60. And yeah, I mean, you could still hit it. Excuse me. But in terms of where he was, yeah, I mean, that's just the practice you want to keep preaching, is getting those better numbers. So yeah, it's gone for me with Jackson Dart, unfortunately. And the books are finally catching up on that. But I would probably think, though, too, Adam, if you do think that he still has a good chance to get over that mark, I would probably look at his under passing yards. If he's really going to be scrambling enough to get over 40 rushing yards, I think Philadelphia's defense is good enough to limit when he scrambles. So it's going to be more of a frequency type of thing. And then he's not going to have as much success downfield. So that's how I would correlate it a little bit. I'm not too high in his passing yards consistently tonight.
I see Dart at 30.5 pass attempts. That's not completions, obviously. That is attempts. 30.5 at minus 108 to the over on that. Now, Dart has gone for 20 and 40 most recently against the Saints. If we think, again, we keep talking about it, Danny, if Philadelphia is going to be leading this game, even if they're not destroying them, if they're just in front in this game, let's call it by 2 scores, and that can mean 9-10 points. I still think the Dart is going to be throwing a fair amount. And that's, I guess what I'm saying is this. Again, 2 games, 20 and 40. I think we're going to be a hell of a lot closer to 40 than we are 20. So the fact that your number is right in the middle, basically at 30.5, that feels like another good over spot.
Yeah, I totally get that line of thinking. The other side to that coin is if Philadelphia does end up covering, and we know the Giants' weakness is their run defense, then the Eagles are going to control a large portion of this game with the time of possession and limit the possessions on the other side for Jackson Dart. And if he's already slacking in, timing with how often he can throw, paired along with maybe they're not even getting frequent first downs against the
Yeah, a lot
South
of 3 and outs,
Philadelphia.
that kind of thing.
Exactly. So that I think is in general what would scare me from getting over. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up around like 28, 29. I mean, on paper, yes, your line of thinking absolutely makes sense. And it makes sense with this spread. And especially in a game last week where they were trailing and needing to throw a ton. Obviously, we put a lot more weight and stock into this Philadelphia team than we do the Saints. So I think it could just be a scenario that would keep me off in the sense of them controlling the clock. That's why I would end up staying away. But I wouldn't knock anybody for taking it. I mean, the logic makes sense.
No, I appreciate the point counterpoint, because it's kind of amusing. I keep presenting it as like, what if the Eagles are just that good? Your counter is, what if the Giants are that bad?
Right.
Which does take the ball out of his hands. To your point, it's fair. All right, let's go to the running backs here, where this is where we're going to start to give you a barrage of official show plays. And as you look at that graphic, I want to give you some numbers as well. Saquon Barkley, 86.5 rush yards versus Cam Scattaboo's 48.5. Now, the receiving yards, notable, comparable as well, 16.5 versus 15.5. Both, Saquon is minus money at right around minus 150, minus 160 on the anytime touchdown. Scattaboo at plus 130. But again, there's this question as to whether, will the Giants even get a touchdown in this game? Honestly, I don't know. Rush attempts, 18.5 versus 12.5. Saquon, man, he only had 6 attempts in last week's loss to the Broncos, and a close loss. Mentioned it also, he's averaging just below 54 rushing yards per game. But the thing is, and let's start with Saquon, then we'll get to Cam. Saquon is facing one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, as you have brought up, 29th in yards per attempt allowed. And oh, by the way, he's going against his old team. And that revenge narrative is not a made-up thing. Not in this case. Definitely not in this case. You've seen all the viral clips, everything, dating back to when he left, and Giants basically feeling, no big deal. Let him go. Like, we can replace him. It's not an issue. Barkley went for 176 on the ground. Never mind what he did catching the football. He went for 176 rushing and a touchdown on only 17 attempts, Danny, when he saw this Giants team last year in his first game against that old team, as I recall. I think it was his first game. Let me double check that, actually. It was, I closed the window. Saquon, because obviously he would have been positioned to, I don't know if he actually did face them twice. Now I'm trying to remember. But he obviously, in terms of the schedule, may have. So you had 17 for 176 and a touchdown in a 28-3 pummeling October 20th, when he went 2 catches, 11 yards on top of that. And that was it. Did not see them twice last year. So, you got your 1 game sample size where Saquon went off. This should be on paper a very logical get right spot for Barkley. Again, need to bring him along, need to make him just bring the confidence back, feel like himself, play like himself. Revenge narrative, former team, crap run defense on the other side. I mean, the anytime touchdown, even at right around minus 155, feels like a very solid play. But I think this is one of those games that people are going to be not only betting him to go over on his rushing yards, they're going to be laddering him up 100, 110, 120. How do you see this game going?
Yeah, I mean, I think we certainly see a case for him getting 90 plus rushing yards. But again, the numbers move so much into the upper 80s where I don't see as much of an edge. But I think you're correct with the anytime touchdown. I mean, as gross as it may be to lay that, last year we were having to lay over $2 with Saquon Barkley, right? I mean, so it's like you're still relatively getting a pretty damn good bang for your buck. Yes, we know the tush push could eliminate that, but again, if we're thinking they're going to have a healthy lead, they could play around a little bit more. You do have that revenge angle against a former team. I think they may give him a bit more looks than they normally would inside the 5, perhaps. So I kind of like that angle honestly better. And it's not to say I'm betting the under for Saquon's rushing again. I think he gets 90 plus. The thing that is scary, we did talk about this in the offseason with running backs who rush for over 2,000 yards. every damn guy has regressed the following year. Now, Saquon has still been a great running back. There's no denying that, but he's only averaging 3.2 yards per carry. The caveat is, of course, going up against a terrible run defense in the New York Giants. So, that's why at this point, it's like, do you really want to bet the under on him? I get that it's an inflated mark, but the best he's gotten is 88 rushing yards against Kansas City. And that is pretty good defense. So again, you got to take all these things into account, but pretty much all of that, Adam, would lead me to having a bit more confidence in the anytime touchdown as opposed to betting the inflated number at this point.
So do we want to, as a group play, invest in the Saquon touchdown? Again, laying what we'd be laying, risking basically losing 1.5 units if he doesn't get there. Do you believe in it enough to invest in this as a show play?
If you had like a lot of conviction in it, I would have enough to get us there. Are you on board as much as kind of how I'm breaking it down? Like, so
look, I'm a sucker for narrative street,
right?
Man. It's not like he's obviously, as you said, the rushing yards haven't really been there, and obviously yards per attempt have not been there. He has 3 touchdowns though in 5 games, so it's not as though he's not getting an opportunity. Actually, 4, including 1 receiving touchdown. He has 4 touchdowns in 5 games. It's not as though he's not finding the end zone and not still being used. What's the best number? I know we flashed the minus 160. What's the best
I see minus 150 in my neck of the woods is the best number.
All right, Barkley TD. I'm putting it on our spreadsheet. I'm adding it as a group play. Minus 150. Done. In. Good. See, I told you we were going to be giving you some plays, and we appreciate it. Get active in the chat. We get about 5,500 watching. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Love it. Stay with us. We got you another half hour. We're just scratching the surface with this game, giving you best bets, plays, all of that. And then Betspresso follows immediately after. So go nowhere. It's going to be a fun crew, including Danny. These guys are going to have a lot to talk about. Let's stay with the running backs, though, and we can show you the graphic again with Cam Scattaboo and those numbers. I won't read them to you again, but you can see it while I'm talking about other things, obviously. So with Cam, I think, obviously the Eagles are top 15 against the run. You would think that would impact him. The fact that Jackson Dart is prone to take off is, another thing that I guess kind of works against him. But some of these numbers from Cam Scattaboo, who, by the way, my son, my 13-year-old, when he's watching these games, I mean, he looks like a refrigerator. Like, how is this even a running back? You sure he's not a fullback? He's definitely a fullback. He's got to be a fullback. I'm like, no, he's a running back, actually. That's how they use him. So let's ignore game 1 when he was not a factor, really did not play, and just look at the last 4 of his very short NFL career to date. 11 for 45 rushing, 2 for 14 receiving, 10 for 60 rushing, 6 for 61 receiving, 25 for 79 rushing, 2 for 11 receiving, 15 for 59 rushing, 6 for 45 receiving. A couple of touchdowns mixed in there as well. So, at this, he basically over the last 40 games, raw data, has just south of 250 rushing yards and call it around 130 receiving yards. He is a focal point in this offense, even as a rookie, Danny, especially heightened by the lack of Neighbors and now the lack of Slayton. It's like, is it going to be the Wan'Dale Robinson show? Like, Scattaboo is going to be a factor here in this game. I know that, and this is the first time this has ever happened in the short history of this show. You, SPJ, me, we are all individually and differently invested in Cam Scattaboo. What is your argument?
Yeah, so the way I'm handicapping Cam Scattaboo is with his receiving yards. Now, I got over 13.5 at minus $1.28. There are still some 14 and a hook out there, and you're laying around like minus 118, maybe a little bit more. And I would absolutely still recommend that if you're getting below 15 with Scattaboo. Look, I mean, last week was pretty evident of what's going to be occurring going forward in the receiving game, and that's the impact of Scattaboo without Malik Neighbors. And then, as we know, Slayton's absence is obviously going to be felt. He was targeted 7 times, 6 receptions, 45 receiving yards against the Saints. Now, in that first game against the Chargers, targeted only twice, but holding both for 11 yards. But again, he had 25 carries in that game, Adam. I mean, that's obscene. And he's been, again, very ineffective, actually, on the ground attack. In that game against the Chargers, he was averaging just 3.2 yards per rush. Yep. And then against the Saints, he was at 3.9. So you could keep giving it to him as much as you want, but that's not going to win you games long term. He's an awesome player, electric when he gets the ball. But I think he can be a bit more impactful in terms of the passing efforts. And he's going up against an Eagles defense that's allowing opposing tailbacks 41 receiving yards per game at about over 4 receptions per contest. So Philadelphia, look, with a weakened Giants receiving crew, they're going to wreak havoc on Dart. And that's going to force him to check down more, have those safer, secure throws to one of his favorite targets and players in general right now in Scadaboo. So I think this is the time to invest in Scadaboo's receiving props, because after a game, if he goes back-to-back where he's just targeted a ton, this is going to be the lowest you get it all season. Again, after 6 receptions last week, if he gets even like 4 tonight for like 30 to 40 yards, it's certainly not going to be at 14.5, and his receptions probably, if it's at 2.5, it's going to be juiced a lot more heavily to the over. So I think that's the best angle to approach with Scadaboo tonight, is in the passing efforts, and I know you feel similarly.
Yeah, I do. Just to give you SBJ's play first, because it's kind of a mixture. He is going over 65.5 rushing and receiving yards on Scadaboo, which is, if he were here, he would be just reciting about how that line is way too low and it doesn't make sense. Again, the last 3 games, he's gone 121, 90, and 103. So again, we're asking for mid 60s off of what he's just, again, increasingly involved in this offense. And I like what you're doing. I'll give you what I'm doing, but I do think what SPJ is doing in terms of just, sort of chasing the bigger number, obviously, but taking some of the variables out of it, where it's like he's got a long 24 rushing so far this year. He's got a long 21 receiving so far this year. Like, I'm just going to put them together and hope for the best and hope that, touches get me there. And I think that's a smart play. So that is an SPJ official play. And I think, yeah, those are his 2. Scadaboo and the over on Darts rushing yards are the 2 that he is offering you for this one. So I've given you the Eagles -7. Of course, we have the Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown group play. But the way I am investing in Scadaboo, I'm going to go over 2.5 receptions. So your play, my play, extremely correlated, obviously. Now, in theory, you could hit yours on 1 catch and not even need me. But I am just banking on, again, I think the Dart's going to be throwing, so that could mean more, short passes, check downs, that dump offs, that kind of thing in the direction of Scadaboo over the last 3 games. I mean, hell, every game, all 5 of his games, Danny, he has at least 2 receptions. And in 2 out of the last 3, he's gone 6 for 8 and 6 for 7. So, I realize there are a couple of games in there as well. Like, if I'm going to give one side of the coin, I'll give the other. There are a couple of games in there that he's gone literally 2 for 2. And so he just hasn't even had that 3rd target to get that 3rd catch. I think this game, given how undermanned the Giants are, is going to play out more like the others, where there's just going to be a lot of opportunities. So I think that, either, to me anyway, I don't know if you agree or disagree, because I know they are all different bets, but I think the 3 of us are either going 3-0 or we're going 0-3. I don't think it's working any other way.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the biggest difference here as well is who's playing quarterback for the Giants, and that's why I like this a lot more, because with Russell Wilson, it's either he's taking a sack or realistically when he's throwing, he's going deep. With Jackson Dart, again, I think this Giants team is more of a representation of what we saw last week. And in that game, a lot of passes to Scadaboo when you were trailing and just trying to get any kind of offense. Now we're going up against equally as good of a defense, if not better, in Philadelphia, to where I think it's going to be a similar type of play. I do think, yeah, absolutely. There's the correlation with yours and mine. And the reason I ended up choosing the receiving yards over the receptions is just because I think the receiving yards are so low. And like you said, could easily get there 1 catch, if not 2. So then I don't have to worry about a 3rd reception. SPJs, I get it. I never I know he loves doing the rushing and receiving. I'm not a big fan of that personally. I just like to focus in on one. I get having the security blanket with it.
That's his thing. I feel every show he's given us a rushing receiving guy.
Right. And it's like you're kind of just trying to get two angles there. And I get that occasionally you'll get the slack picked up if he, regresses in one department and does well in the other. But I think you just take advantage of a number where you think is mispriced. And for us, I think that's right there in the receiving game. And obviously, specifically me, I think with the receiving yards, but his rushing scares me because yes, he's only going to get there if it's the volume that we saw against the Chargers, where he had 25 freaking carries. What is that? 3.2 yards a carry. Right. And I don't think they're going to give him that many opportunities in this game where they're trailing again. So that's why the rushing yards, I get it that it's low in the 40s, but man, that scares me tonight.
Let's the expression handicap the handicappers. Let's see. Maybe he's out there in transit and listening among these 6,000 plus across Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, paying attention here to this show, Any Given Wager. Let's take a look back at SPJ's game log, if you will, and see how he's doing on these rush receiving plays. The very first one was a Xavier Worthy play that voided because he got hurt immediately in that game. So then you had a Swift. I'll name them off. You keep track of the hits. I'll keep track of the losses. He had a Swift miss. He had an Eckler miss. He had a Chan miss. He had a Cook hit. He had a Bijan hit. He had a Breece Hall hit. Javonte Williams hit. Missed on ETN and Worthy. So what's that? 4 and 5?
Let's see where they missed. I think 4 and 5, right? Yeah, 4.
All right, so this is his opportunity. Yep. So B. Dunn says yes. This is SPJ's opportunity to get back to 500 on the rush receiving plays.
Yeah, and look, it's not even like a knock on him or anything like that.
If you were like 0-9, it would be.
No, look, and obviously it matters in each scenario with each player. And I think, when you're looking at someone like trying to think, for example, like a Bijan Robinson, where he's going to get involved in the passing efforts, or like a Christian McCaffrey or an Eckler, and those type of players where sometimes it may be emphasized more than the other, but they can equally dominate and contribute as much in both facets. That's where I think it's more valuable to look at those type of props. And I don't think Scadaboo's there right now with his rushing yards, volume-wise, perhaps, but not in terms of actual production there. So that's why the hesitancy with the rushing yards, among many other reasons, is there for me tonight. But obviously, we're rooting for our guy and rooting for a big night for Scadaboo tonight. Not enough to kill your spread bet, but enough to get our props home, baby.
So while we're talking about running backs who catch footballs, a couple of people in the chat have asked about Saquon Barkley. We have someone Saquon over receptions over 2.5 are good too. Oh, damn, it's Austin. Austin, pardon me. There's a spade logo, says Barkley over or under 17.5 receiving yards. And then there's Pyrex Pujols just giving us a parlay here. Saquon 2 catches, and Scadaboo over 9.5 receiving yards. Goddard over 25. Lock it in. How do you feel about the receiving yards for Saquon?
Man, Saquon's receiving props are always tempting because of how low they are and how much usage he gets. But
24 plus yards in 3 of his 4 games so far this year receiving, and at least 2 catches in every game.
Yeah, like I would be more inclined to look at his receptions initially, but yeah, like you said, I mean, he's been logging up too frequently, and obviously been getting a little bit more damage with the receiving yards. Like I personally would stay away from him in the passing game in general. I'd much rather do what we did with an anytime score. I guess if I had to, just based on what you just read off there, then certainly the receiving yards seems a bit more appealing. But initially, I would have thought receptions. But yeah, I unfortunately am not too passionate about the Barkley stuff, so I don't want to go too crazy with it and recommend something. But how do you feel about it?
I'll put it this way, and this is kind of counterintuitive in a lot of different ways, because we're talking about how bad the run defense is for the Giants, and we're talking about Philly getting up and covering at least a touchdown score, meaning, all right, at a certain point, they're going to be running more than they're going to be passing. If we believe those things, it seems weird to recommend the receiving yards. But again, targets so far this year have been 5, 2, 5, 4, 3, and he's about as sure-handed as they come. He's only missed 2 of those targets so far. Not always for big yardage. I mean, there's a major outlier from last week where of his 3 catches for 58 yards, he had a 47-yard touchdown in there. He also has a 15 more reasonably. That came the week before when he had 31 on 4 catches. So what that tells you is more often than not, his catches are for very short yardage, very short, like an average, even with those outliers, an average of 7.5. You take those out, it's considerably lower. So but the number just feels so low.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll sound like SPJ. I think I'd want to invest in probably the rushing plus receiving.
There you go.
and let Saquon just go get it however he can get it, right? That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Let's get to some of the other pass catchers, the wide receivers specifically, where you got a lot of talent on one side of the ball. A.J. Brown, 64.5 versus Wan'Dale Robinson's 43.5. But, there's a reason Malik Neighbors' picture's not there. He ain't playing. Robinson is your number 1, at least on paper. Receptions plus 130 to the over, 5.5 for Robinson, 4.5 at around minus 130 on Brown. Anytime touchdowns plus money for both, basically 2-1 for AJ. Wan'Dale 3.5-1. Some, things to consider. Again, bad secondary for the Giants that Hurts is going to be going after. Dallas Goedert, who we'll talk about when we get to the tight ends, is going to be a real factor in that as well. As far as the Giants go, the weapons are limited. We've mentioned there's no Neighbors. We've mentioned there's no Slayton. And so you might be thinking, without pulling it up yourself, well, who is there? So there's Wan'Dale Robinson. There's Bo Collins. There's, Theo Johnson, the tight end, who we'll talk about. Gunnar Olszewski. Good God. Like, are we going to get excited about that? And then a guy that seems like everybody loves, across the betting community tonight because his yardage is so low and opportunity should be so good, Jalen Hyatt. So whether it's these 2 guys or one of the other ones that I mentioned, and obviously there are other weapons like a Devonta Smith that exists for Philadelphia, where would you go?
For the Giants specifically, if I'm looking at Wan'Dale Robinson, I think you go under his receptions. I know that the idea is to get him peppered, especially in the slot position. And as a former Nebraska Cornhusker, I'm always rooting for Wan'Dale Robinson. I know he ended up transferring to Kentucky, but the dude's a stud, very speedy, and always a low-key player I try to draft late in fantasy games. That doesn't matter here, but my point is I keep an eye closely on Wan'Dale Robinson more than the average person, and there are games where he can go off. I just don't know if I'm in a position to trust Jackson Dart enough to get him the ball that frequently. And then you look at it from the other side of things too, Adam, like if you're Philadelphia, all right, do you just give that cushion to Wan'Dale and go, all right, yeah, have Wan'Dale Robinson try to beat us? Or do they know that obviously that's the number 1 guy, let's lock him down as much as possible and have Dart try to focus in other areas? So I think regardless, 5.5 is a bit too steep. The under is juiced so heavily at that minus 160 range that it's not that enticing to actually bet it. But yeah, 5.5 just seems a bit too high for Wan'Dale Robinson. And outside of that, with the Giants specifically, Adam, it's Scatterboo in the passing game. Otherwise, I couldn't care less about anybody else trying to get involved. Haven't gone deep enough to try to, wonder who may have an edge elsewhere in the prop market. Is there anyone who's catching your eye in the G-men department?
No, I don't want anything to do with any of these guys. I'm a believer in Scatterboo, and I can't get there with Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, could he have a 50-yard catch in the first quarter and blow this all the way immediately? Of course, that's live. I think what's Hyatt's line? It's low. It's sub 20, like 17.5, something like that. Let me see. 18.5 I see right now. There might be some 17.5s out there still. Now, just to make people aware, as we celebrate Jalen Hyatt tonight, he has 0 catches, 0 yards in the few games that he has played so far this year. His only 3 targets came in the most recent game. The argument for Hyatt is simply believing he is going to have an opportunity and that he is this team's number 2 on paper in this game, and that Dart is going to be throwing the ball. I think he's worth a sprinkle.
Sure.
I think he's worth a ladder, quite frankly. Like, if let's just say you wanted to take a half unit, okay? Just a half unit of your money. I'd put a quarter unit on going over his base, and then I would probably do a tenth of a unit at 25 plus, and 5% of a unit at 50 plus, and just F around and find out, as the saying goes.
I get it. Yeah. I mean, look, if you're someone too who follows the Giants religiously and you're very in deep into the weeds with local press and kind of have an idea what's going around in camp and know that he's going to get those opportunities, then this certainly could be a steal for you to get him over 18.5 receiving yards. Realistically, it could get done in one pass, and you may have to wait until the fourth quarter where the Eagles just take their foot off the pedal, and that's when you get it, and so be it. A win's a win. But yeah, again, like to bet an under on somebody's receiving yards as low as 18.5, especially if he's
I'm not going near the under. I'm betting his over, or I'm staying away.
Correct. Yeah. So that's where it's exactly the way you would approach it. But realistically, and we're hoping that Scadaboo's the receiver number 2, and maybe Theo Johnson. But nevertheless, nothing entices me outside of the Giants there on that side. But I get it. Slow. Should be getting more opportunities. Not going to surprise anyone if he gets about 30 yards or so.
All right, let's talk tight ends then, because on the one side, you do have Theo Johnson, who is not super compelling. But again, we believe Dart's going to be throwing the football. And then you have Dallas Goedert on the other side, who Goedert is right now pacing Burke for career highs in catches, in targets, touchdowns. He already has 4 this year, 3 in his last few games as well. He scored in his last few games. Is a cleaner way to say that. Goedert has been a weapon in this offense for all the targets that A.J. Brown is not getting, or the inconsistency of Devonta Smith, or Saquon not rushing as he should be. The only guy who is overperforming right now is Dallas Goedert. And so how should we feel about him, and obviously Theo Johnson on the other side?
Yeah, I think he kind of put it correctly with Goedert that he's been overperforming a bit. And it's strange though, because then we thought last year he was underperforming, and now it's flip-flop. So it's like, what version of Goedert are we truly going to get? You look what some other tight ends have done against the Giants. I mean, Zach Ertz, 3 receptions, 26 yards. You had Ferguson, 9 receptions, 78 yards. Kelsey, 4, 26 yards. Nobody on the Chargers did anything. And then Juwan Johnson, only 2 catches for 17. So it's probably a situation here where, Goedert isn't going to be as needed. He may be more of a red zone threat than anything on the consistent front going downfield. I'd probably rather consider him for that anytime touchdown as opposed to anything with his receiving yards, because they're going to emphasize the run game. They're going to emphasize, I believe, A.J. Brown more, which we could get to in a second because I forgot to give out my best bet for him. But yeah, that's how I would look at Dallas Goedert. And then with Theo Johnson, I haven't looked too deep into that. So if you got more thoughts on it, feel free. But again, the correlation seems to be there, which is having the necessity for someone else to catch the damn ball. Travis Kelce did really well against Philadelphia tight end wise, but no one else really made any noise against this Eagles team. So they've been pretty damn good against the tight end position.
Yeah, I think that. So the interesting thing about Goedert is, I guess in the sense of him overperforming, it's really the touchdowns and the fact that obviously he has the 4, as we talked about, because if you look back at last year, he had 4 touchdowns the entire season. And that's 2 in the regular. No, I take it back. He had 2 in the regular season? That can't be. That's it? 2? Yeah, he had 2 in the regular season last year and 1 in the playoffs. Yeah. So, obviously he's, blowing doors when it comes to the touchdowns this year. And maybe it's, like you said, for the red zone targets, it's worth a sprinkle on his anytime touchdown. Most people aren't necessarily putting full units on plus money anytime touchdowns anyway, depending on what the number is. But you could invest in him. I think what stands out are the targets, the inconsistency of them, and the inconsistency of the yardage. Because the 34.5 or so that you're seeing on a yards total for Goedert, that's not all that different than what you were getting last year, Danny. It's just, and he's not blowing it out of the water either. He went 7 for 7 for 44 yards all the way back in week 1. That's his season high across the board. other than targets. He had 9 targets last week, only had 3 catches for just 19 yards with a long of 11. The other 2 games, he was right there, right on the number, basically. He went 1 for 2, but the one was a 33-yard pickup, big-time outlier for him. And the other 4 for 4 for 37 in a 2-touchdown game. So actually, he's had all of his touchdowns in the last 3 games. I don't want... Sometimes I just need to talk through these things to like get to my conclusion internally in my head. I don't want to bet on this guy unless it's sprinkling the anytime touchdown. The receptions, the yardage, it's way too volatile.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Again, if you're looking for anything Philadelphia tonight, again, I think the angle goes with AJ Brown. Finally, Goddard you're buying high on him for sure. That's why, like, if I had to, the only thing I'd want to flirt with is his red zone presence, because clearly it's a big body now at this moment that Hurts feels comfortable with, if they're even throwing when you get down there, and that's a big if. But yeah, he's somehow doing a 180. So I don't know, maybe you ride the train, maybe you fade it while it's up there. Either way, not enough of an angle for me to want to get involved one way or the other with Goddard.
How's this for an either or for you? Because every so often we mix in anytime touchdown talk. We don't really, go through the board. And we already said we're invested as a show in Saquon Barkley, who is one of just a couple of guys at minus money. It will surprise no one to know that Jalen Hurts with the tush pushes is the other one right around minus 125. Then you start to get into plus money. Scatterboo at plus 145. Your guy AJ Brown at basically 2-1. If I said to you either or, you two in the chat, we got 7K watching, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, love it. Betspresso coming up in a few minutes. This is to the 7,000 of you in the chat. I'm giving you an either or opportunity. I'm just giving you money. You got to invest. I'm not really doing this, but play the exercise. Dallas Goedert plus 250 anytime touchdown, or Jackson Dart plus 350 anytime touchdown.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I'd still lean with Goddard. Because the thing with the Giants is there could be a lot fewer red zone opportunities. And the Eagles are going to get down there. So you're at least going to have an opportunity for him to get a target, assuming they may throw at least once or twice in the amount of times they do. If the Giants get there, yeah, there's certainly a case to be made for Dart to scramble, having no weapons right now, and the Philadelphia secondary stepping up to the plate and being able to cover everyone. So he's got to make something happen. And then Scatterboo, who's been pretty inefficient overall and in the red zone. I get it. If I had to narrow it down to betting somebody on the Giants to scoring a touchdown, I would probably look toward Jackson Dart. But in the comparison of the two, based on opportunities you're presumably going to get, the nod still has to be with Goddard.
This just got me thinking, because B. Dunn, and people in the chat tend to agree with you. There's some Dart mentions, but it's Goddard that generally people agree with. B. Dunn says Philadelphia might shut out New York. Philadelphia's team total tonight, or New York's, pardon me, is 16.5. If you wanted to invest in the shutout, and it's different book to book, but I'm just looking where I am. You can play 20-1 plus 2,000 on Philadelphia to come away with a shutout in this game. That a good number for you?
I'm sure it's not priced at what it should be. I'm not good enough at math to know it, but I'm sure based on the probability, it needs to be more than that. You think about the kickers this day and age in the NFL and how the rules always pertain to helping out the offensive side.
They can also make 60-yarders now.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if the Giants don't get at least a couple field goal attempts here.
All right. I wanted to explore it. I thought it was an interesting note in the chat.
Sure.
So, again, official show plays that we have for you. And we have, look, we're trying to make up some units that we've lost the last couple of shows. This is show 16. We appreciate people riding with us. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Normal time, by the way, 1 o'clock Eastern. And that is when we go through the full board. SBJ will be with us. Look ahead to a full Sunday, which begins early in Cheerio, London. Once again, jolly old England. So Eagles -7 is an official show play. Scatterboo over 2.5 receptions, also an official show play. Those are mine. From SPJ, Scatterboo over 65.5 rushing and receiving yards. Dart over 34.5 rushing yards. Our group play is Barkley anytime touchdown, and Danny, you have 2 plays as well.
Yeah, my first one that I dished out, Cam Scadaboo over 13.5 receiving yards. I think we're going to see a lot like we did last week in that Saints game, 6 receptions, 7 targets. He's going to have to be the second top receiver here. Really low mark, probably won't be there after this week. Love it, would play it up to 14 in the hook. The other one that I've not talked about yet, A.J. Brown, over 4.5 receptions. The scary A.J. Brown, the drama-filled Brown right now, the closed-door meetings between Barkley, Brown, and Jalen Hurts, but I think he gets 5 receptions. He's actually gone over this in, I think, a majority of the games this season, if I'm not mistaken. Giants are giving up 25 completions per game, 27th most in the NFL. No, it doesn't mean that Hurts is going to throw that many times, but obviously they're susceptible to giving up fairly easier passes. The leading receivers against the Giants this season, Adam, wide receiver ones, on average, 11 targets, 7.2 receptions per game. He's performed well against this division foe in the past. And after all the noise that we've heard, heck, even Brian Daboll saying that he's open a lot of times. You got to keep your championship team happy. You got to keep your star wide receiver happy. It doesn't have to be long throws, but you get him involved quick and early. Over 4.5 receptions, my other play with A.J. Brown.
Diva. That's the word you're looking for.
There you go.
These diva wide receivers. It's not just him. They exist across the league. Most every team's got one. Sometimes have two. Before we part, because I know we're out of time, Esprar4 in the chat. Esprar, like, DM me on Twitter so that we can be friends and you can be involved in these conversations. Because, Danny, this is the funniest shit that I've seen all show. I know there's no punishment to give out to Mr. Daniel Collins quite yet. But the next time he loses one against one of the two of us, I love this. He's got a theater background. He's a acting kid. He's versatile. We've seen it. You guys should make SPJ do a show in a London accent. I would even settle for him doing like 10 minutes of a show in a London accent. He doesn't need to hold it for an hour, but that would be incredible.
I love it. I'm all in for it. That's our boy Souk giving that recommendation, by the way.
Well, Souk, nice. Souk, unmute yourself.
That's just me, Adam.
Oh, Souk, I don't know everybody's handle in the damn chat, but I'm glad it's, and I love it. See, this is all the better. Now I like it even more knowing that it's Souk because it's someone that knows SPJ and believes he could handle it. It's not anonymous.
And you did the clown thing for a full hour, so I think he can handle an accent, especially since he lived across the pond for a minute.
Perfect.
Great point. No, I'm into it. That's a great punishment. All right, we're out of time, but we're approaching 7,500 watching right now. Concurrent Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. You guys are incredible. Danny, me, SPJ, all going to be with you here coming up. And I was going to do the math. I'm not. Less than 24 hours, 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for a full Sunday rundown. Betspresso is on the way. It's going to be you, Danny. Shoop, who else is going to be on here?
We got Vsauce. We got Souk waiting in the chat. We got loads of football to talk about. Chef will be joining us with some props as well. Maybe a little bit of hockey with Betsky there, Betsky Gretzky, but we'll see. So plenty to talk about. Maybe even a little baseball too. Who knows? But plenty to be unloaded with the next show.
Love that. Souk, keep doing your thing. Hey, Vsauce, you see LeBron James is out to start the year? What a loser. It's Any Given Wager here on the Betting News Network. We'll see you later.
Can you guys hear me?
Boys.
I couldn't hear the music. Are we good?
I don't know what happened there. We had little technical difficulties. Danny, you're gonna have to.
Yeah, there we
unmute
go. I'm
yourself.
ready.
There
There
you
you go.
go.
Let's go, boys.
I was thinking the same thing, Vsauce. I was like, I didn't hear it coming in, but hey, we're here nonetheless, fellas. We're
How we
live.
doing, boys?
It's Betspresso on the Betting News Network. Danny Burke here. We got Vsauce, we got Suk, and we've got Thursday Night Football to look forward to between the Eagles and the Giants. Vsauce, let's start with you, my man. How have we been doing this week? How are we feeling about tonight's game?
Feeling good, man. The game on the docket, it's kind of nice. I know it's the Giants and the Eagles. It feels like probably maybe we're thinking about a blowout. We'll get more into that. But Saquon's return, it's prime time. It's in New York. I mean, there's just so much going on. I'm very excited.
Suk, yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. Weirdly, I do think that this is going to be a good football game. I know a lot of people are worried a little bit about that decently sized spread and that this game might get out of hand because Philly's got to make a statement. But I don't know, boys. I know Vsauce is on one side. I know, Danny, you like one player prop that I like. So I'm really just here for the vibes, boys. But I don't think we've ever done this trio. So let's have some fun.
I'm excited, boys. We're going to get some Betsky action, some chef action later on, too. It's going to be a good time.
Oh, yeah. Plenty coming your way. If we have some time, we won't flood it right now, but, maybe we'll flirt with a little bit of baseball talk. I know you boys don't go too crazy with it, but I was at that Cubs game last night. One of the best experiences at a sporting event I've ever been to, growing up a diehard Cubs fan. So that was fantastic. Their backs are up against the wall tonight. If we have some time, we'll get into that. We'll talk some NHL, like you mentioned, with Betsky, and then plenty of props with Chef. It's going to be a great show. So, fellas, we might as well get into it with a game preview. And there you go. See, oh, damn, it's Austin already talking about the Eagles -7 in the hook, which because you wrote up about this game. So obviously there's plenty 7 in the hooks out there right now. It was at 8 at one point. It's fallen down. There are some 7s right now getting close to kickoff, but you're laying about -115 juice, -$120 toward Philly if you still like that side. Total open early on at about 44.5, 43.5. Now it's down to 40 in the hook. What were your thoughts about this game, and how did you kind of break it down in that article?
Honestly, I kind of broke this down looking at this Eagles offensive line. They haven't been the same this season, despite bringing 11 of 12 or 10 of 11 starters back on this offense. The offensive line just hasn't looked the same, and mainly in the run blocking. We see Saquon a lot less explosive runs this season. Last week, they didn't really integrate him into the game, whether it's a little bit of overcompensation in regards to trying to work your wide receivers into the game, whether it's whatever they're trying to do. But we really saw it not work last week. The offense sputtered. They put up just 17 points, and it didn't look good for Philadelphia last week. And I think the other thing that is a good matchup for the Giants today is the pass rush. Their pass rush is ranked top 6 in the league this year. I know they haven't been getting home as much, but they've been generating a lot of pressure. And Abdul Carter, he looks exactly like advertised. He's playing out of his mind. You've got a couple other guys on that defensive line that are playing fantastic. And Hurts has struggled under pressure, and maybe not so much this year, but we see a significant drop-off in his completion percentage and his passer rating last season when faced with pressure. The only thing is last season he was facing a lot less pressure because his offensive line was ranked at number 1, if not number 2. So I think that's an intriguing matchup I'm looking at today. I think Hurts is going to have to spend some time maybe getting a little creative. We saw them do it to Justin Herbert 2 weeks ago, and it led to a win for the Giants.
Yeah, no question. And that's kind of how I'm looking at this game too. I mean, what's going to happen in the trenches? Who's going to have the advantages there? And, the way that I'm foreseeing it on the side of the Giants, where I think it puts them at a disadvantage is, as great as Scadaboo's been, he's actually been really inefficient on the ground. And yeah, the crazy Scadaboo. Now they got sleeper changing his profile picture too. I love that. He's a fan favorite out there, right? And I want him to get involved. I think it's going to be more in the passing game, which we'll get into a little bit later in the show. But 3.2 yards per carry against the Chargers on 25 attempts. His stats were padded because of the volume he saw, and they're trying to keep the ball out of Herbert's hand. Realistically, it's probably not going to be the case as 7-point underdogs this go around with a hungry Eagles team. And then last week against the Saints, a spot you probably should have taken advantage, still relatively ineffective, just 3.9 yards per carry. I don't think they have a good enough offensive line to help them out. And on the other side, I know Jalen Carter up in the air. I haven't seen an update on that, boys. I don't know if you got any of them, but yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing. I don't think he's going to be as impactful with his legs, and I think that's going to hurt the Giants and force Dart into a lot of uncomfortable situations tonight.
Yeah, I think so. And I think before we get more into this game and talk about our actual bets, Sook has prepared a little bit of a game. Danny, I don't know if you've played this yet since coming over here, but
He
it's a game we
hasn't.
like to play. Smash or pass. So it's not what you think. It's not nothing that'll get us kicked off the network, but it's a fun game we like to play. And
Love
Sook,
it.
I'm gonna let you take it away.
Yeah, so Danny, I know that I'm 99% sure you haven't played Smash or Pass yet, but it was something that fundamentally fed the family during the dog days in the summer. And it's something that we've been playing on the channel since day one. It's something that SPJ came up with. I don't know why he called it Smash or Pass because it's not what you think that it is, but let's just go ahead and play this. All right, boys. Today for Smash or Pass, it's going to be real quick. We only got 3 of these. Danny, sometimes we've done as many as 10. Go ahead, give us your most unhinged thoughts and opinions. Today, we're going to do NFL habits. You're going to tell me if you're going to smash or pass on 3 players' habits during the seasons. First, we'll just go off with the guy who's going to play today, Elliott, the kicker for the Eagles. In college, he actually won a game by doinking a kick, and then he thought to himself, that's really lucky. So what did I eat today? Because I want that luck for the rest of my life. And it ended up that his dinner was a slice of cheesecake and a slice of pizza. So now before every game, he eats a slice of cheesecake and a slice of pizza. Me personally, sounds heavy. I can't imagine eating that before a football game. But Danny, I'll let you lead us off here. You smashing or passing on a slice of each?
It sounds like an excuse to just eat crap food before a football game. I'm passing on this. I mean, come on. You've had plenty of missed kicks, missed clutch kicks. If you were making everything, sure. But yeah, I get it. I'm a man of routine. Like being a baseball player, I get the superstitions, but it's a pass for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's only one position you could play on an NFL field and like be having this pregame, and that's probably kicker. My God.
Yeah, I guess he does have the excuse to be able to eat like that as a kicker, but
Like you
still.
would think you doinked it. It's like maybe I needed more leg. You know what I mean? Maybe I should
Right.
watch what I'm eating before the game. Not
Yeah,
eat
get some
this.
protein in there. Come on.
It's so funny.
Vsauce is getting super deep with it. He's like, no, you got to think the other way because you got to get it up through the uprights perfectly.
Because as somebody who is very superstitious, like the type of if I'm sitting there and I'm watching the Packers and then all of a sudden somebody walks into the room and we start losing, it's like for real though, you got to leave. Like last week, we're watching the Cowboys game and my wife comes home after, like the Packers are playing super well and everything like that. And she sits down and then the game goes the way it does. And I was like, you might have to leave. And she's like, I just got home.
My goodness,
Yeah,
That's fair. Hey, we've all been there. It's you can't leave now or you have to go. It's inevitable when you're sweating something out.
it ended in a draw, man. I wasn't wrong. Like I was not wrong.
All right, let's go to the next one up. This one is super simple. Obviously, it's my Bucks and Bucky Irving. He actually keeps a Mr. Incredible action figure in his football bag anywhere he goes. He's done it for a number of years, kept it when he came to the NFL. Boys, I'm absolutely smashing this. I love both Incredibles movies. I think those are like up there with the best animated movies you can watch. So absolute smash on Bucky with Mr. Incredible. V?
Yeah, that's a smash for me. I have a little Ninja Turtle that's like in my backpack all the time. It's just there. It's been there for years now. It's like a keychain, but it's like I like having it now. So I'm fully smashing with that. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it the trifecta here. We're getting in with the three-way smash. I'm with Mr. Incredible. That's a cool little thing. You're carrying him around, tradition, sentimental value. No harm in that. We're smashing.
Let's go, boys. I knew that one was going to be pretty simple. Everybody loves Mr. Incredible. He's just like a superhero that dealing with like the real problems that we all deal with work and with family. But he's super strong and it doesn't help with him with all of his headaches. The super strength does not help.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's an incredible movie.
All right. Last one up. And I was shocked that I didn't know this. Mr. Josh Allen, boys. He started doing this his second year in the league. And he says that it somehow prevents cramps. So I am excited for Vsauce's thoughts on this. But Josh Allen force pukes before each game. V, what do we think about this? Danny, you want to go while he collects his thoughts?
I could go. It is a little tough. Yeah, I knew a kid in high school football who would do that, but I think it was more nerves, not on purpose. He just felt like he had to. But if you don't have to and you're going out of your way to then do it, that's going to be a pass for me. But if it was like, yeah, you get nervous, you just get it out of the way and it helps calm you down, sure, that's a smash. But if it's for him just preventing cramps, and I find that hard to believe. So I'm gonna go pass.
Yeah, like the science and the physiology behind it is not really kind of computing in my head right now. It's not making any sense. If anything, that would dehydrate you and could possibly further
Right.
precipitate a cramp. What are we? Drink some Gatorade. What are we doing, Josh? Pickle juice, even. Fuck.
Yeah, I got to pass on this one too. This one seems rough. I'm just imagining like them getting ready to go to the tunnel, and Josh is just like, "Yo, 1 sec," and he's just running back, going into a stall, and just shoving his hand down his throat. It's just weird.
If he's having a bad game, do you puke again at halftime? Like, what's going on there?
True. Does he puke between quarters? Actually,
Ugh.
like if he throws
fucking on the sideline.
The real question is that how does Haley feel about this? Like this must.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my god. I don't know, man.
See here, I don't know how you guys feel. Here's my thing with superstitions. Like, if it's in the moment of that specific thing where I'm doing well, I'll keep doing it. Say, for example, you're at a craps table and you're getting out a heater and you're on a routine. Maybe you take a sip of your drink in between every throw. You knuck somebody, something like that. I'm going to keep doing that, but that doesn't mean the next time I go play, I'm going to do the same thing because every situation is different. So all of these people with superstitions, whether it's baseball, football, you're clearly not batting 1,000. You're clearly not hitting every field goal. You're not winning every game. So I don't get why you have the same thing every time. I get having a routine, like, putting socks on, to a certain degree. But when it's really, really deep like that, it's like clearly it doesn't work every time. So you can't claim it is helping you out as much as you think it does.
So, Danny, you being a baseball player, what was one thing that you maybe did or one thing that sticks out to you that kind of stuck for a little while?
Yeah, I don't know if it really was too much. Maybe I think the thing that like I still kind of do now when we play softball is probably just like when I go to the plate, maybe, like how many times I tap it with my bat and then like, a couple like check swings up there, just like that's kind of routine. And then take a step out after every pitch. Pretty much everybody does that, but that's kind of the extent of it. I don't think it was anything crazier than that. I mean, maybe, we all got caught in wearing a fighting back in the day. That's where all the fake necklace, if nobody remembers what everybody, that's not necessarily superstition, but everybody, it might as well have been. I mean, it was an absolute pyramid scheme with it essentially, but that was something people wore because they thought it made them play better, but certainly didn't.
Just to expose Sook, I know Sook had something that he did with his socks. So what was it, Sook? You always needed long socks?
I always wore long socks, but I wore ankle socks in my long socks. So I wore 2 pairs of socks. Speaking of undergarments, the one that didn't make the list is Patty Mahomes wears red underoos to every game.
Underoos.
Do you think Dylan Raiola does too? That's the real question.
Hey, that's my boy. I'm sure he does.
That's the question.
Danny, did you see that clip where they were doing college football on Saturday, and it was like Raiola's team, which escapes me
Nebraska.
right now. Yeah, and
alma mater, baby. Come on, Sook.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. But on the graphic, I had Mahomes on the graphic instead of Dylan, and somehow in the middle of his pitch of his play, Shaggy clocked that wasn't Dylan and was like, "Dude, that's Patty." It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen from a Chiefs fan.
It did take him like a good minute, though. I will say that it took him like I know he was in his pitch, so he probably wasn't paying attention. But I will say he was like.
Oh, that's incredible. Look, the fact that he denies it does go too far, I'll say. But to his benefit, he worked out with Patrick Mahomes. So obviously you're going to pick up some tendencies. He had the haircut before Mahomes got famous. That's as far as I'll go for defending my boy, Nebraska Cornhusker quarterback. I mean, he just has to go out there and be like, yeah, I'm going to mimic the best quarterback in the NFL. Who wouldn't? And everybody would give it a rest. So he certainly doesn't help himself in that extent.
I mean, it's also the extent to which he like copies him too. I mean, copy him on the field, copy him in the gym.
I was just gonna say, because I don't watch college football, like, is Raiola gonna become a starting quarterback in the NFL? Does he have that level of potential? Because that narrative play to put some props in against Mahomes versus Raiola would be so much fun.
That would be awesome. He definitely he's like the prototype of a quarterback to make it to the league. I couldn't evaluate quarterbacks in terms of who's going to be good or not, like outside of the obvious. Like people are telling me Drew Aller's going to be a first round quarterback. I'm like, this guy absolutely sucks. So I don't see that. So like, and sometimes they do turn out well and they're not as good in college. I get that it's the environment you're around and getting with different coaches. So I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the country right now, and that's with no offensive line help whatsoever. So statistically, he's up there. But in terms of it'll translate to the NFL, realistically, he'll be a backup somewhere, I would imagine. I mean, he's got no speed and he still has a lot to improve on. But he's got like the skill type for it. He's got the prototype of what you want from a pocket passer. But, you don't really want to be a pocket passer in this day and age at the same time. So I think that'll prohibit his long-term lifespan.
Just because we're now talking about college football, and I haven't done a show with you, Kobe, or Shaggy in a minute, Danny. I've had this question just sitting and percolating. It was on Barstool. I think it was Big Cat. He kind of put out this question there. Do you think that it would improve QB play in the NFL if all quarterbacks had to stay 4 years in college? Do you think that has any effect on that? Or do you think the NFL game is just completely different where having time in the NFL is more beneficial than having the extra 2 years maybe starting at even a big name college?
Yeah, I think the simple answer to that is just looking at the data, right? Which I obviously don't know the answer to that, but just seeing how those guys had panned out over time. But without knowing that, I would assume the answer is yes. The other side is obviously guys getting hurt and maybe getting adapted too deep into the college scheme and then completely transitioning over. But then again, you talk about the NFL, like it's a league that is based on helping offenses and protecting quarterbacks. So I think you tie that in with more experience. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine that would help more so than it would hurt, I guess. How do you guys think about it?
I don't know. I like from things that I've also seen, it's like college doesn't prepare them for an NFL offense because college game is so different than it is in the NFL. Plus, like you being in college, you still being a student, it obviously doesn't allow for the amount of time and preparation that an NFL team is going through on a weekly basis versus what a college team is kind of going through. And I know it obviously varies for different players and different programs, but that was one thing. The other thing too, these are just like fun stipulations they put out there. They're like the only way you can make it out early if you win a Heisman. If you win a Heisman,
I like it.
But so, what are your thoughts?
I kind of think I lean towards what you guys are saying. I think that forget about putting stipulations on how much college they have to participate in. Let's take the student out of student athlete. Let's turn them into athletes right away, like V was kind of saying. And honestly, I don't think the problem is that they're becoming NFL players too quickly. I think they're becoming starters too quickly. Let them become actual men. We are putting guys who are looking like string beans out there, like Bryce Young, dudes that don't look fully developed. Like, I don't understand why we're throwing out these guys and we're honestly going to let them get tackled by 6'5", 6'7" dudes and act like that's okay and act like that's good for the development. I just think that we need more patience, like Tom Brady was preaching in the NFL side of things, rather than kind of change up the rules for college.
How many more years does Kyler Murray need to grow into the position?
He needs stilts. I don't know how he's going to get them, but he needs stilts if he's going to progress his game.
No, that's an excellent point because, I mean, again, these guys are being put in prematurely to try to save the coach's job, to try to save the GM's job. And then if they don't work out, then they could save their ass by saying, oh, this guy wasn't ready and this and that. So, yeah, they're definitely set up for failure in more spots than they're not. The way to do it, and I hate to say it, but credit to V Squad. I mean, the Packers do it perfectly, right? I mean, certainly lucked in to the Aaron Rodgers, ordeal there, but getting years behind Brett Favre and then Jordan Love behind Aaron Rodgers. And obviously you need a great offensive coach like you have with LaFleur, but that's what you want to do. That's the ideal way to do it. And that's where they've always been competitive.
Yeah, I agree. Like he's 27. He's going to be 27 this year. It's just his third year as an actual NFL starter. And just to talk about Danny's point about somebody coming out maybe a little bit too early just to save a coach's job. That's one of the teams tonight, looking at the Giants. Now, I know that he came out and he won his game against the Chargers, but Jackson Dart and like they really didn't look like the same team against the Saints. Was it 5 turnovers, 2 interceptions, an unforced fumble? Like he just kind of didn't look like the same guy. A lot of it had to do with now you're playing a little bit of a better team. They had that, I know, big fumble return for a touchdown, But do you think that maybe Dabo brought him out a little bit earlier just because he knew, like, if I give Wilson 3 more games, I'm probably gone before Dart even gets under center. I might as well take a shot here and see if it sticks.
Yeah, I guess like the way. So go ahead if you want to jump in.
I was just gonna say it's what you guys are saying. He's just trying to make a move. We saw the Giants have kind of been having this carousel for the last few years. We saw DeVito, we saw all these guys. I think you're just trying to move the needle with the fan base and just trying to get people excited for New York Giants football. But I don't think it's very good. And weirdly enough, like Gruden talked about this, that Dart really doesn't have the intelligence of a starting level quarterback. We saw him do it in college, taking so many hits he didn't need to take, not sliding when he needed to slide. And those are the kind of simple things that you need to do as a quarterback. And I think Dart is the kind of guy that has the drive, the intangibles that maybe he could develop into a good quarterback. But exactly what we're saying now, if he gets fucking beat the fuck up for a week here, 2 weeks here, 3 weeks here, then people are going to start not seeing him as a starting level NFL QB. And that label of prospect just turns into backup real fast. So I like Dart. I'm worried about it.
It's hard to invest in an asset that you can't trust to be out there on the field. Like Gruden made a great point. He said he's had 283 snaps in a Giants uniform, counting the preseason. He's been in the concussion protocol twice already. Wow. You know what I mean? He's a guy that doesn't go down. He's not going to go out of bounds. And I agree. So it's something you have to change, especially against teams like Philly who play angry.
Well, Danny, I know you like one interesting Dart prop. I don't know if you got to the window on it, but I heard you mention it just an hour ago.
Yeah, that was with him to throw a pick. I was very tempted to place a bet on that earlier. It was kind of ticking up. It was around like minus 130, minus 135. So I ended up staying away, and it's not really a prop I usually delve into, so I can't say whether or not that's a good price in the market, but I know sometimes you can obviously get more so around like minus 105, minus 110 with some of the better quarterbacks or newer quarterbacks. It's coming off a game where he just threw 2, and it's not even because of that specifically, but I think that tells a bigger tale of what to expect out of this Giants team and Jackson Dart. Again, I keep saying this, but I think it's very important to stress. That game against the Chargers was a perfect setup for the Giants. I took the Giants with the points. Obviously did not think they'd win outright, but I thought they're in a great position to cover because the Chargers endured so much travel. I mean, they had an international game division opponent, Monday Night Football division opponent on the road, Broncos in a grueling game division opponent. Then you go across the country, not only in that travel, but you get a quarterback with limited film on him, with a coach trying to save his ass and players trying to now play a little bit more inspired to go, now we didn't suck because of us. It was because Russell. Now we can rally around a more athletic quarterback, and you get that immediate inspiration. But after that first week, not only do teams gain more film, but you kind of come back down to earth. And that's what we witnessed last week with the Giants against the Saints, where everybody's ready to ride that high. But no. Now you're going to plateau and show the team that you really are. You're going to see those true colors. So not to say he's going to throw 2 picks, but I think it's going to be more that scenario, guys, where his back's against the wall. He's going to have to be in situations he's not too comfortable, forcing throws to limited receiving weapons against a still formidable defense, and then probably cause a turnover at some stage in this game.
Let's go.
I kind of like that too. I think the thing that Philly does really well too is disguise their packages of what they're kind of running and their coverages. We know Vic Fangio is a guy on defense that has been doing this for a very long time. He's got a shit ton of different coverages, and there's a reason that they've kind of demoted Adoree Jackson now to the bench and brought in this young guy. I think it's because they see something in him, and this is also something that Jackson Dart's really kind of struggled with. I know we have a small sample size of just 2 starts, but against disguised coverages, he has a quarterback rating of just 48.1. I think a lot of that we saw last week too. Who is their defensive coordinator in New Orleans? I know they don't have the best personnel, but they do have somebody out there that I know is experienced. I can't remember his name, but
Brandon Staley.
Don't help him, Danny.
Oh,
Danny, are you aware of the Vsauce legend?
That's
defensive coordinator. Come on.
I think we've got it. It might have been at the last week's Betspresso show, but I don't know the full story.
You gotta just
this guy will forget Kevin Durant's name during a pitch for Kevin Durant. He'll be like, "Yeah, number 35 can really score. What's his name? And we just let him flounder.
To be fair, I was curious about it myself, and I was like, "Oh, that's right, it's Brandon Staley's."
So I think this is a team that is kind of well equipped to kind of handle this Giants offense. And I know as I say that, I'm going to talk to you about the Giants +8 in a second here, but I think that's exactly why we might see a couple of turnovers in this game. And I don't know if those result in points exactly, but I do think that Dart is probably going to have a hard time reading the coverages tonight.
Are you going dancing, V?
Oh, yeah. Let's go dancing, boys.
You want to do that right now, Danny?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
This is the rhythm of my life. My life. Oh, yeah. I know you want to say it. This is the rhythm of the night. This is the rhythm of my life. This is the rhythm of my life.
All right, chat. It's the rhythm bet of the day. Giants +8. You can still get this line over with our good friends at Bet Online. You're going to have to pay a little bit more juice on it. +7.5 is fine too. I'm just taking what's available to me. The Giants in this spot are not a good team. They are up against the defending champs, coming off an ugly loss in which you know they're going to want to respond. But this is a divisional matchup. This is a matchup that Brian Daboll has not performed well in against. In my opinion, it's one of the most important matchups he's going to see in his what is left of his coaching career for the New York Giants. I think this win, or a game that is even closer than a lot of people are thinking, is going to be very important. Rhythm also has this as a 61% edge. They're loving this more than they've loved a lot of the bets we've pitched out in here. You got a lot of people looking at the other side. And the reason I'm liking this a lot is if you're looking at the betting splits, we're seeing 85% of the handle on the -7. We're seeing 76% of the bets on the -7. Yet the line has not moved from -7 or +7 or that is 7.5. The line is stuck there. This is a very, very, in my opinion, sharp spot. I'm taking the +8. I am riding with Rhythm. And I think we hit last week's on Monday night, but let's go for another one. And shout out to our homies over at Rhythm. 25% off code right there, Vibes25. You can build your own models. You can use their model, and you can see exactly what goes into kind of creating these statistical models that everybody is always kind of talking about that they have. So shout out to them, Giants +8. Pray for me, boys. It's not going to be a fun one.
Man, it is going to be gross. I get the path to getting there. And, on the show before any given wager, Adam was dishing out -7. I was like, the only thing I would consider now that it's at 7, it's some books, but again, mostly it's 7 in the hook. Like, yeah, I'd lay it with the Eagles based, obviously, metrically speaking, but you think about a short week, you think about a division opponent, and this Eagles team just does not win by a large margin. And yeah, we could talk about them being inspired for a bounce back. You don't really need any extra motivation in the NFL. If you need to, get the hell out. I mean, it's not what happens. I mean, these guys are ready to go 99% of the time. I hear you, man. I think you will not be having fun, but I think it's probably, again, getting points in a divisional short week it just seems like the better side. But I hear you, man.
One more stat. Sorry, so go ahead. So
I was just gonna say, are you on the over or the under on this one as well? I'd love to know that too.
I like the me and Trizzy both like the over in this one. We think some points are going to be scored. It's moved down quite a bit from 43.5 to 40.5. And that's the kind of movement that I just don't like. It feels like the kind of spot where it's going to end up at 41, 42, where if you got in at a good time, you're happy. But if you didn't, you're going to get burned by some late game bullshit.
Your plan is to be clenched today, fully.
Clenched. Oh yeah, fully clenched. I'm going to be sitting here bitching about Jackson Dart in about 4 hours, boys. But this is a situation too where Jalen Hurts is 0-4 coming off a loss, 0-4 against the spread, coming off a loss and playing on a short. I think he's playing on a short week, but all 4 of those games have come against the Giants. This is a divisional matchup. They got blown out last year, 28-3. It's just been ugly. Daboll has 1 win against the Eagles in his career, and I'm not saying they're going to win, but you got to play with a little bit of heart in this game. And I think on a short week, this is the time you can catch the Eagles maybe sleeping a little bit.
All right. Fair enough. Well, V's going to be sweating out the Giants +8 tonight. We'll have plenty more bets to sweat out and tell you about for tonight's Thursday night football game. But in the meantime, why don't we take a little intermission, as they would say in the NHL, and talk some puck with our guy Gretzky. Betskys is where you can follow him on Twitter. Betsky is with us, and we have a full NHL slate tonight. Man, it's going to be a good one to look forward to with plenty on the ice. Betsky, welcome in, my friend. How are we doing on this fine Thursday?
Yo, yeah, doing well. First big full slate of the NHL season. Congratulations to my Albertans here for the big Flames win last night. That was awesome.
Fuck you,
That
Connor.
is, one
Fuck
step
the Oilers.
closer to McDavid leaving Edmonton as far as I'm concerned. So you love to see it. But yeah, got the Ice Cat shirt on. We're feeling good. I don't know how many props I'm going to dive into in that game. Got to do a little wait and see with Philly right now. And those two top lines for the Ice Cats seem to be kind of like sorting things out. But we got great looking plays up and down that board tonight. Some really fantastic matchups. So pretty excited here.
Let's go.
Yeah, love to hear it. So, yeah, we might as well dive into it a little bit, Betsy, here. Obviously, there's a plethora of plays to go with. So I'll kind of let you direct with some of your favorite ones. Just so you know, as you can see, I'm a Chicago guy. So if you want to just skip over the lowly Blackhawks,
Sure.
together against the Panthers, not going to lie, it was a bad beat for overbetters after 3 goals in the first period. But what do you think about tonight's slate, the top games that stand out to you from a betting perspective?
Yeah, well, one in the earlier slate that I have circled, and it may not be one that really jumps off the paper, but the Rangers got shut out in their home opener against the Penguins, who I think over the course of the season is going to be a bottom feeder. One of my kind of like system plays is taking a team that gets shut out for the first period 1.5 goals their following game. So I think Rangers are going to be very motivated against a Buffalo Sabres team who has allowed a ton of goals in the past, but also have a good enough offense to keep up and get past Shesterkin here. Really like that over 1.5. You can get that about -120, -125, depending where you shop. And I think we're going to see some goals in that game. So that top line of Tage and Josh Norris looks really good. Norris has been really, really strong this preseason. I think he had 4 points over the course of the preseason, playing on the top line with Tage Thompson and Zach Benson. And then we're getting a ton of value on a previous Norris winning defenseman. I was on him on Tuesday night, and unfortunately Adam Fox did not pull through. But instead of -130 for an assist, we are actually getting him at even money for an assist on Bet Online, which is incredible value. This is a guy a couple seasons ago, you would have to take his assist for -160 and his point around -180. So again, I think we get a motivated Rangers team here. I think we're going to see a lot of points in this game. I think that's a great spot if you want to dabble into the props market for that early part of the slate.
Let's go.
I love that, Betsky. Now, I was reading your scribbles today, too. Do you want to talk about the underdog that you like outright today? Because I know that that's a team that a lot of people haven't or probably still are sleeping on. So you want to take a minute to talk about the Anaheim Ducks?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're not in the East, or if you are in the East and are a sicko and will stay up till midnight to watch some hockey, we get the Ducks taking on the Seattle Kraken tonight. Ducks are plus money dogs on the road. But, man, Seattle is maybe the most mid team I can think of in the entire league. I mean, this is a team that has Jordan Eberle on their top line still for some reason. We got all these kind of vets that at one point were kind of names in this league still hovering around this roster. Meanwhile, Ducks are maybe one of the most young, exciting teams in the entire league. They made a huge coaching change, bringing Joe Quenneville from your Hawks behind the bench, who should help kind of motivate those young guys, but also keep those vets sharp and getting that kind of piss and vinegar kind of running through their veins. Brought in Chris Kreider from the Rangers, still have Jacob Trouba. So nice assortment of veterans and young guns on this team. Mikael Granlund was another big pickup this offseason. I think this team looks a lot more complete than Seattle, and we've seen a lot of underdogs win throughout the first 2 days. We had Boston just yesterday beating the Capitals, who were the President's Trophy winner last season. I think this is a really, really mispriced line here, getting them around plus 110 on BetOnline.
Yeah, I think so too. I think NHL has the most parity if you're looking at year to year and just from like game to game, especially to anything can go any way at any time. The Penguins shut out the fucking Rangers 3-0 on opening night.
There's another dog. Yeah, so especially early in the season, this is when you want to jump on some of those lines.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I know you also talked about Detroit. You talked about Montreal. You've got some props in there as well. Is there some edges that people should be keeping an eye out for in that matchup tonight?
Yeah, that's another game that I think you're going to find a lot of scoring in. Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki for the Montreal Canadiens were held pointless against Toronto last night. Detroit allows a lot more goals than the Maple Leafs do, so I like that top line for the Canadiens. I also love the top line for Detroit, which I wrote about. Dylan Larkin is a Canadian killer. He often hits his 2.5 shot on goal line, but also has hit his point prop. And gosh, I think it was 9 of his last 13 or so against the Montreal Canadiens with 11 points in those games. Lucas Raymond, his line mate, is sitting 2 goals behind 300 career goals as well, or 300 career points. That sounds really high at first. Let me double check that. But again, lots of room and reason to like that top line for Detroit to kind of be rocking tonight in a home opener against a team who had to cross the border and kind of took one to the chin against Toronto. I think Montreal will put up a much bigger fight tonight. But again, I love kind of the big names of both of those teams to get rolling tonight.
Speaking of guys that are like 1 goal away from a milestone, Boone Jenner, I saw Betsky tweet something out. A friend of yours tweeted out, actually. He's 1 goal away from, 200 career goals. Opening night tonight, I looked it up too. He's got, I think, 9 career goals against this Predators team. Didn't play a full season last year. I mean, plus 220. I tapped in.
I didn't realize he was so good against the Preds on top of it. Yeah, that's kind of tasty. Yep. And he's playing with the up-and-comer top center for the Columbus Blue Jackets, Adam Fantilli, who was just fantastic last season. Didn't get to see much of Jenner last year. So let's see if they just can start the chemistry right off the bat. Yeah, I like that.
Love it, Betsky. Hey, before we let you get out of here, you kind of brought it up a little bit. At the beginning of every season for whatever sport it is, I feel like that's where bettors can cake the most. And it obviously gives you a benefit once you get a larger sample size and can work on it throughout the season as well. But sometimes you're going to get a lot of mispriced numbers, whether it be props, sides, totals, all of that. Is there any piece of advice you would offer to bettors out there, whether nuanced or experienced, that you're often looking for that we can keep an eye out for during these early stages?
Yeah. One thing really early in the season is younger players who still are in Canadian juniors, so the CHL, can get 9-game tryouts. Nashville Predators have their 5th overall pick, Brady Martin, playing top center in their lineup right now. Now, he may not stick around the entire time because they can get a 9-game tryout before burning an entry-level contract year. So the team can hold them for a couple games, see what that player's like, let them get a little taste of action, and then send them down. One thing that happens all across the league all the time is players getting called up from the minor leagues or making their debuts, their NHL debut, and they score in their first game. Now, I'm not saying that maybe run with Brady Martin tonight, but kind of keep an eye on young guns early in, especially if they get call-ups. Maybe worth sprinkling their goal for their first game or two in hopes that they come out and cash early.
We saw that in Edmonton last night, boys. Calgary's first-round pick from 2 years ago, 28th overall. Gridden made the team on the last day of camp. Last round of cuts, makes the team. Had like 4 shots on goal, had a goal. He looked absolutely fantastic. So I'm getting behind what Betsky is laying down.
And a lot of these point props are looking at good value too. If you just want to, a little bit safer bet for these guys that are sitting at plus money to get a goal, because like Betsy said, they're very undervalued. So you'll find value on the points props as well.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, a lot of the books just don't know where to price them yet.
Awesome. Betsky, well, hey, before we get you out of here, obviously we got to ask you about Thursday night football. You heard a little bit about what Vsauce was saying, taking the points with the G-men. How do you feel about this NFC East showdown tonight?
Well, as an adopted Giants fan, I love to hear it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think things could get much worse than last week. So you got to think they'll bounce back and maybe at least be able to keep this competitive. Got to think that dart's going to be a little bit sharper here. And then the Arizona boy, Cam Scadaboo, has been fantastic for this team. So, yeah, I'm all about that. Music to my ears, but I don't know. That's going to be a sweat.
Yeah, that I know. Let's just hope we can put up some points, man.
Awesome stuff as always from Betsky. Go ahead and follow him on Twitter at Gretzky Betskys, and make sure to check him out at bettingnews.com. Plenty of scribbles when it comes to the puck. We'll be looking forward to that much more throughout this hockey season. Betsky, best of luck tonight. Appreciate you joining as always.
All right, of course. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you boys in Chicago.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait. Cannot wait. Yeah, you fellas, you guys, you're not making your way down this weekend, or I will be seeing you here.
I'll see you tomorrow, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right,
Yep.
perfect.
Yep.
Awesome. Cannot wait for that. Yeah, I already got some of the packages delivered from SPJ. I got those tequila bottles ready to go. So if there's one missing, you'll know where to look. It's going to be right here in my apartment. But yeah.
Oh, man.
Miss you, Prendy. All right, see you guys.
See you,
See
Betsy.
ya, Betsky.
All right, great stuff from Betsky per usual. Again, everybody make sure you follow him on Twitter at Gretzky Betskys. Man, I'm so glad that hockey's back, and we'll definitely be getting into that more and more as the season prolongs. But, fellas, we might as well jump back in to Thursday night football. We already heard from V with one of his bets, taking the points with the G-men. We'll see if it comes through. What we know will come through, as he alluded to, is it is going to be a sweat per usual, especially if you're betting Jackson Dart and the G-men. Sook, I already gave out some of my props, which I'll recap before we head out, and we'll get the Chef team just a second. Before we do you have a play that you want to give out in between here while we let Chef get set up a bit?
I have one boring play, and that's just the game total for rushes to go over. It's 60. It's very boring. You can't bet it on every book, but I do think that there'll be a decent amount of scampering done. And if you don't believe in that, then I do just want to, and Danny, you're going to pitch this way better than me, the disgruntled star to catch 5 balls. I do think that that's a play that I'm in a tail of yours for sure. That's the one that I like. But Danny, if you haven't been in a lot of shows with me, I bet a lot of things that aren't on a lot of books. So I usually don't go too deep into the analysis, but I do think 60 total rushes for this game is a very playable number. The other one that I do like, but I don't think I'm going to take, because Dart and Hurts can both kind of get out of that pocket, is that plus money game total for the sacks was staring at me, but did not get to the window with that one. But should we just talk about Mr. AJ Brown?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'll kind of, like you said, pitch it here a wee bit. And look, it is kind of the obvious play, but based on the narrative surrounding it, and we've seen it happen so often, a lot of times those type of players do get fed when you hear all this noise and all the rumblings and complaints. I mean, receivers are divas. That's just the way it goes. And it's been building up to this with AJ Brown, and he still had a fairly productive season thus far. It's just he feels he's open on so many routes this year. And you even heard Coach Brian Daboll say that, yeah, if you look at the film, like, he's open a lot. So it's even maybe a little bit more juice to add there to seeing more action from AJ Brown. They had the closed door meeting, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown. 4.5 at minus $1.24, I thought was a really good bargain. If this was like at about minus 140, minus 145 or higher, probably would have stayed away. But I like getting it at that price. The Giants are allowing 25 completions per game, 27th most in the NFL. Obviously, Hurts probably is not going to complete 25 passes, but just goes to show that the completions are there. Going up against this Giants defense. And if you look at past wide receiver ones against the Giants, they're averaging 11 targets and 7 receptions per game. Yeah, I know AJ Brown's going to be getting so much love for the anytime touchdown. I'm just fine sweating him out, thinking they're going to get him involved early and often, whether it's short passes, screen routes, whatever it may be. I think this is the best angle to pursue with AJ Brown and his receptions. V, did you have any thoughts on this one? Because Suk and I obviously like it. What were you thinking for this?
I like AJ Brown. I like the narrative. I think they're going to throw the ball quite a bit. I did go in a different direction in terms of receiving props. I like AJ Brown. I think you have to work your wide receiver in. I also think that Dable is putting a little bit of like salt in the wound just to stir it up a little bit before this week 6 matchup here. Just he is open. I mean, he should be getting the ball. Like I'm sure he should be. But I really do like Devontae Smith in this line. I think the line's ticked up to 52.5 now, maybe. But this is a receiver that you can line him up outside. You can line him up in the slot. And he's leading, actually, the Eagles this year in slot snaps. I think this is a situation where Andrew Phillips of the New York Giants has been targeted more than any other cornerback in the league this year. He's also given up more yards than any other cornerback in the league this year and a pair of touchdowns. He has been getting torched. He's one of the worst graded cornerbacks in the league this year, and he's playing almost exclusively out of the slot, exactly where we're going to see Devontae Smith. I think this is a situation where you're going to see a pass rush in his face quite for like a big portion of the night with Jalen Hurts. And who are you looking at in those situations? You're looking for the guys that are closer to you. I think we saw that last week against the Denver Broncos pass rush that ranks number 1 in the league. Devontae had 10 targets. He caught 8 of those targets, had a pretty big day in terms of yardage. But late in the game when they were trying to get AJ the ball, I don't know. It just feels like those guys aren't on the same page. And I think today, if anything, the 4.5, this is a volume question. Are you going to try to get him the ball? Are you going to try to mend this relationship? Or are you going to just do whatever needs to take to win and then deal with the consequences later on? So I do like both props. I think they're going to have to pass more than people think today. I know that a lot of love has come in on Saquon, but you got to think the Giants are a little bit more motivated to kind of put him in his place, especially after the 176 yards, 9 yards per carry game he had last year.
Yeah, and really quick, just to add to that, V, we were talking about it on Any Given Wager, and you and I, and so too, we were talking about this preseason. We see so often when running backs who rush for over 2,000 yards, it's the inevitable regression next year. Now, obviously, Saquon is still an absolute beast, but he's averaging like 3.2 yards per carry. He's only gone over his prop mark once, and that was against the Chiefs. It's not to say he's going to have a bad game. The Giants do have a bad run defense. I'm kind of with you. Like, I think he's still maybe relatively limited in comparison to what we saw last year in these types of games. So, yeah, I think they may need to pass just a bit more than people are interpreting as well.
I'm intrigued to see what Chef has, if Chef's ready to go. Because I know that he had a few props that he was liking in this big Thursday night game.
Yeah, we got our man Chef T waiting on deck here. We might as well bring him up. You can follow him on Twitter at CookItUp31. The man, the myth, the legend, Chef T. Look at that, Fields rushing yards. He's already sporting that for this.
Oh, God, that's old. God damn it. I have no idea if it's going to hit this weekend or not.
Well, he's that confident already. Let's go. I love it.
No, it's I've actually made shirts for Fields rushing yards before, so it's a long running prop that we like to take. But anyway,
it's still smashing. It's still smashing.
Yeah, last week didn't, but the previous 4 weeks have. But yeah, no, I mean, I think honestly we should see a good game. I know we're talking in our little side chat about the Giants keeping this one close. I think we see a good game. I think the Giants are able to, finagle. They've got a couple weapons. I know Tyrone Tracy. We're all kind of eyeing him as receiving yards, which I really like. Right? I mean, if Wan'Dale's kind of absorbing the main cornerbacks, the line for Scadaboo is a little bit low, which is a little bit weird. Trizzy had a really good point about possibly seeing a big breakout game from Tracy. So I really like that, but I think Mr. Devonta Smith gets in the end zone.
Let's go.
Also first. Everyone's going to be eyeing Scadaboo or a little juggernaut. Everyone's going to be eyeing Saquon revenge. I think it's Devonta Smith's game all day. He does really well in primetime games. I think everything's going to be crashing down on Saquon, and I really like it. So that's my Tyrone Tracy, Mom. Okay, all right. I don't hate that.
The thing too with the Eagles side is you're going to see a lot of loaded boxes, in my opinion. With the way that Saquon plays with Jalen Hurts, you're going to have somebody with eyes on him constantly, like a QB spy or something of that nature. And then with Saquon, the only way to stop this guy is to really stuff that line of scrimmage. And with the way the Eagles offensive line is set up right now, they're also going to be without Landon Dickerson. They're all pro left guard. I think we've got also on the other side Lane Johnson. He's been beat up. I know he's going to play this week, but he's been beat up since week 1. And coming off a Super Bowl, coming off all those extra great games, it takes a toll on these big guys up front, that are getting smashed in the mouth on every single play.
Yeah. I mean, I know that it's tempting to look at, the initial metrics of Giants give up chunk yards. A lot of people are on Saquon longest rush, I think over 17.5 or so. I really like his receiving yards. I really like that. He gets targeted at least 2 or 3 times a game. And I think exactly what you're saying, B, they're going to have a spy and they're going to try to crash down as much as they can. And Saquon is not any shy of any receiving yards and receiving receptions. His receptions line, I think, was at 2.5, and it's shifted to 3 on some of these DFS books. But I like the yards. I think it's 16 or 17.5. I mean, I might ladder that. That might be my ladder prop for him. But yeah.
All right. So, yeah, you like Saquon in the receiving game. Chef T, I don't know if you were listening before, but one of the plays that I have is Cam Scatterwood, but over his receiving yards, 13.5. Now, again, Tyrone Tracy being back. 13.5 minus 128. Got that this morning. Yeah, 14.5 is still available. Looks like at minus like 118 or so, depending on where you're shopping. I'd still play it there as well. Now, I'm curious your thoughts, what impact Tracy may have with that. But the way I see it with Scatterwood and with Jackson Dart in that first game, he got 25 carries. That's kind of an aberration with a running back, especially with Scatterwood, who's been very inefficient on the ground against the Chargers and against the Saints. And then you saw him 7 targets, 6 receptions. No, that doesn't mean it's going to translate into this matchup, but I imagine the Philadelphia secondary can limit the lack of receiving threats they have. A safer, secure type of dump off to Scatterwood there at a really low number that I just think, again, if he's going to be a focal point in this offense, it's not going to be that low going forward. So I'm looking to take advantage of that while we still can. But again, what impact is Tracy going to have on that, do you think?
Not a lot. Honestly, I mean, I think Tracy is gonna share the workload, but they see something in Dart and Scatterwood, and they want to keep riding that. And I mean, even and I'm looking at the metrics here. I mean, Philadelphia this year gives up 26th most attempts for rushing, but 18th most yards. So 3.9 rush yards attempt. So they might jam them up, right? But they actually give up the 5th least amount of receptions, but the 23rd most yards. So you're seeing these checkdowns and these guys fucking take off. Mm-hmm. When you said 13.5 for Scatterwood, that actually blows my mind because I don't see how he doesn't get that in one go. 6 for 61, 2 for 11, 6 for 45. I mean, Tracy was playing in the game against Kansas City, right? And Scatterwood still went 6 for 8 for 61 receiving yards. So I don't see any problem with 13.5 definitely, and even going over that. So I love that.
Yeah, and like you said too, I mean, Philadelphia against running backs, I think it's like 41 receiving yards are given up to that position per game. Again, everything's different, but yeah, I mean, in Dart with his 3rd start with those limited weapons, I just think you go with the now reliable option that he's become accustomed to in Cam Scatterwood. So all part of the thought process there. But anything else kind of standing out to you for this game that people should keep an eye out for, whether it's under the radar, whether it's someone people are eyeing, if you want to go the opposite way?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think that's it. Honestly, AJ Brown's banned. I don't care what the numbers say, and the fact that the Giants absolutely fucking blow against wide receiver ones, I don't care. AJ Brown is banned, so I'm just steering away. I like Devonta for a touchdown. I like Saquon's receiving. Love Scatterwood receiving. Like a little bit of Tyrone Tracy. I like Theo. I know that's V and my guy. I like him to get peppered and get in the end zone from a Giant standpoint. So, but yeah, that's all I got.
I dig it.
If I like it. I am also on Tracy, just to say over 10.5 receiving yards. I think we're seeing it the same way, Danny, just attacking different running backs. I'm taking a little bit of a risk here, thinking that also Tracy, being a former wide receiver, might get a few snaps out there in the slot. Like we saw since Tyreek Hill went down for the Miami Dolphins, A-Chain took a significant amount of his snaps in the slot last week. And I don't know if that's something we're going to see more of moving forward, but with Tracy's, his skill set, what he brings to the table, I wouldn't be surprised to see him line up out there for a couple of the snaps.
All right. Well, we've got plenty to work with. I think it's about that time, fellas. Should we cook ourselves up a little SGP for Thursday Night Football? What do we think?
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
One last shout before we start cooking, boys. Hyatt got 3 targets last week. I don't know what's happening with him, but just a shout out for him. That was the kid that they said was faster than Tyreek in training camp last year. So he's been on this team for a few years. His touchdown is plus 550. I don't know why he got 3 targets last week, but dude has not caught a ball all year, but he's on every single book for his receptions. Longest reception, I think, is like 13.5. I don't know. Just I haven't gotten into the window, but I thought he'd be worth a mention before we start cooking.
I mean, no Slayton, short week. Like the other thing, it's not even just injuries, but on a short week, you're going to see a lot of the guys that don't play on Sundays play a little bit more just because, you need a few reps off.
Yeah.
Let's cook.
All right,
Let's cook, boys.
What do we want to get started with here? Who's feeling the most confident to kick things off?
And did you? It's not Adam. So did you cook? Danny, did you cook anything with Adam in terms of a parlay? Anything we shouldn't double down on?
We actually did not. I guess without SPJ, we got a little off track here. So
no SGP without SPJ.
Exactly. Too many 3-letter words here.
That's a t-shirt right there. That's
we
a
could
t-shirt.
go wherever with it.
Yeah.
Do we go Smith then? Because you guys seem to really like that, and you guys didn't like AJ. So let me and Danny go down with the ship by ourselves.
What about that Scatterboo receiving prop? I like that too at 13.5.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, those are good first 2 legs.
And if we can only do like the 15.5 because it's moved, I'd be willing to do that too, depending on where we're cooking it.
He's gonna get fucking 40, 45.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
The receiving yards, not the receptions, right, boys?
Correct.
Yeah. 5 yards comes from just the way that he puts his head down. You know what I mean? Like that's
Have you guys seen the clips of him blocking?
yeah, dude, he's hilarious.
Oh, let's go. We got SPJ live in the Windy City right
Hey,
Let's go.
What? Let's see. Oh, there you go. I'm in your city. Let's go. Let's go.
now. Hell yeah.
all right, boys. What's next? Do we take a touchdown scorer? Who? I really
Are you trying to lotto this, V, or are you trying to make this like a hittable, bankable guy?
Let's make this a hittable bankroll. You're right.
What about Saquon 2 receptions? Wait.
That might be juice. What about 3?
What about yards? I think it's like 15 or 16. Are you guys comfortable with that?
Yeah, I am. I
Receiving yards for
am
Saquon?
definitely comfortable with that. Yep.
Okay. Let's do that. So Scatterboo receiving, Saquon receiving.
Devontae receiving.
What's that?
Devontae receiving.
Devontae receiving. What about Theo? Do you guys like Theo? He's been his teddy bear check down safety space for Jackson.
Yeah, it seems like chat was loving Theo for an anytime touchdown at least too.
Oh,
So.
for anytime touchdown. Okay.
Yeah,
But either or, yeah.
Gerald actually just sent me a lotto too. It's got Theo Johnson in there to score. He's also got Saquon and Scatterboo receiving yards, boys. So he's laddered them up as well.
I think we're all on the same page here.
Yeah. Do we just cap it off with Theo TD? Fuck it. I mean, we had Caleb Williams in one of these, Danny, and that was the only leg that hit. Remember?
That's right. That was it. That was like the first bet we hit. We said, watch it be like the only one that comes through. But
it's a 3-leg parlay, Chef. 1 leg was Caleb Williams. He had his first rushing touchdown of the year, and he did that, but the other 2 legs didn't even come close.
Well, and shout out to SPJ too. It was his birthday on Monday, and he gave out Trevor Lawrence's fellow birthday mate with him, and he scored. So I mean, we're doing okay with the touchdowns. We got to keep the heat going.
All right, let's go, Theo Johnson. All right, Gerald, we're riding with you, buddy.
For the tutty?
For the tutty. Let's get rowdy.
Let's hope the Giants get into the red zone tonight.
Let me build this out.
We'll post that on the timeline because I'm seeing different lines. So we'll get V to build it out on the best book, and then we'll get that on the timeline for you guys for sure.
But you guys know the legs. We got Theo Johnson to score a touchdown, Devontae receiving yards, Scatterboo receiving yards, and Saquon receiving yards.
Man, it's gonna be it's either gonna be a great night or it's gonna be an ugly NFC East showdown that we've seen before, that's for sure. But hey, that may be the best thing for V to cash on the +8 with the Giants. That's probably what you're looking for in that scenario.
Oh man, if SPJ was on screen, he'd be like, not at any time for Theo. Put it the first.
Yeah, that's
I mean, you had Tongus last week, Chef. You were on it.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. It's funny because we have this show, and I feel like at this moment, it's starting to become like I literally have cooked up an NHL point play, an NHL go play, an NHL shot on goal play, a NBA preseason, an MLB mega, and now a Thursday night stuff. And it's like, we live for these days, and we're like literally talking about just baseball and like, Italian turkey shooting that's 3 a.m., like trying to find shit to like talk about and bet on. But I haven't even sniffed this Sunday slate, but I'm excited for it. Absolutely. And this weekend, we get to sweat it out this weekend, right?
College football Saturday, boys, and Cubs are winning today. We're also going to get a game 5 on fucking Saturday. We're all going to be in Wrigleyville. It's going to be fucking electric. I'm putting it out in the universe, Danny. It's happening. Go Cubs!
Into existence. Come on, baby. Big game.
People are going to be
Central Time. Cubs Brewers terrified. Matthew Boyd his third start in like 10 days, but hey, that Wrigley magic is real, boys. I know Chef T knows it here, being in the Windy City, and now we got some fellow members here. SBJ just touched down at O'Hare, I presume, and we got Vsauce coming as well. So we got a lot of the team making their way here. It's going to be a great weekend, and hopefully it's going to be a great night. Thursday night football. Plenty of bets have been dished out. Like Sook said, he'll be tweeting it out. We've got the SGP, Theo Johnson, anytime touchdown, just to name one of them. Cam Scatterboo, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley. A lot of guys getting involved in the receiving game. That's what we're revolving around. But yeah, hell of a show, guys. Chef T, always appreciate you joining. Remember to follow him on Twitter at CookItUp31. For Sook, you can follow him at JustSook. Vsauce at Vsauce, as right there on the screen. And myself at DannyBurke5. It's been another edition of your afternoon Betspresso. Chat, appreciate you tuning in. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody. Best of luck with your bets, and we'll catch up again soon. Take care, folks.
What you know about rolling down in the deep? Down in the deep.